Usual Sunday deal. Getting started a little bit early. I was sort of trying to time it with the Meltdown stream to be after, but they're wrapping up pretty quick, and it was just I just wanted to get started. I only got a little bit of time left on my quest, and figured if I'm going to start playing Duelist, I may as well do it on stream. So there's not a whole lot on the agenda today. I haven't really been making much new. I've just been sort of still working on same 10 lists here that I've been on for the last couple weeks. So may do some of my Starhorn list that I played in Meltdown League this week. It had a pretty cool cast on Meltdown League. May keep messing with my big aggro casts, since it's just a deck list I like. I'm not a fan of aggro, but I like that it's not truly an aggro list. It's more of just sort of an anti-meta ping focused list that runs big old boys. I love Marauder. Marauder's so cool. He just fits in well here. It's not your traditional aggro. It can be very aggressive because you need to be able to do that versus some lists these days. But it can also just play the long game very well. And then this is my most recent project that I've been putting a lot of my focus on. I've just been really trying to make some a tormentor list, or just a more dedicated creep list workout. It's getting there, but I don't think it's there yet. But we'll probably play that a little bit as well. And I currently have a Banar quest, so I dug up a ancient relic from the past that once upon a time was a tier 1 deck when Mechazor had spell immunity and was an 8/8, but now it's just pretty much a gimmick. It's my old Ghost in the Shell, Spirit of the Wild Mechazor deck. The concept, the core principle is still the same. Play a cheap Mechazor minion on the final progression, drop Mechazor onto their side of the field, play Spirit of the Wild, and Mechazor with Rush. And then, of course, Spirit of the Wild's natural combo with Ghost Seraphim. Kara actually makes gets all of our mechs to hit those important breakpoints to where they're actually useful minions. Most of them are all just missing one stat from being really good. Kara really helps get them to those breakpoints. Toss in Kara's natural wall synergy, particularly Luminous as a backup win condition. Aspect is a great combo with Wisp and gives us some AoE. Hailstone, just because it's a good card. You can use it to progress your mechs, or as removal, or with Wisp. So, it's a solid enough deck, but unfortunately, there's a lot of, Bender and Dispel lately, so Luminous isn't super reliable. It's a bit vulnerable to aggro due to completely lacking healing, and Mechazor is only a 6/6 now and just dies to everything, so the combo is just not what it used to be. But it's still a fun list, and a bit of an old throwback, and I happen to have a Banar quest at the moment, so we will go ahead and grab that and see where that takes us. I don't know if I'll play it for my whole Banar quest, but I'll grab at least a game, maybe two. Alright, Zor is not typically looked at as a good unit, and he's not, but he's just what this deck needed. It needed just a touch of card advantage, and it needed another 2-drop, and Zor just fit that bill. He can help us progress mech, he can give us Mechazor, he gives a lot of garbage too, but a 2-drop that gives us card advantage and cements our game plan. He just made sense here. long queue time, but it's just way back in the day when Mechazor was awesome. I made a whole thread just putting Mechazor into all the factions. This was just an update to that old list. All right, so we're in a curious position here. We have like the full combo here, but ideally you usually want to try to save Helm to be as part of a 6-mana play with Spirit, but also Magmar tends to have trouble answering Mechazor, so I think we'll just go ahead and open with both of our Helms, and we'll try to get to Mechazor by 6 mana, and then we'll have Ghost Seraphim for later on, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to keep the hand. It's a little awkward, but it's pretty solid. It's got everything we want. It's just a little different from our usual game plan. Well, I may even do a cheeky Hailstone extra mech progression. We'll see. This one we're definitely playing Cannon. Oh, Mirror, Intensify, fancy. Alright, so let's see. I want to clear the Aqueduct because we don't want to run into any like fractal replication shenanigans. We're not in a rush to use Hailstone right now, so we can always use Hailstone as a last-ditch effort to make Mechazor, so I think we'll just play Cannon and clear his field. Probably just going to toss... Well, maybe not. I mean, that does push us right towards Ghost Seraphim. Ooh, Beastclad. Fancy. Yeah, I may just do a Wisp, defensive Wisp here. That will accelerate our clock a bit. Alright, well, we know for sure Cannon's going to come up here, and since it can't damage that, well, it's going to be shooting Frag. And then, now we need to make decisions. So, I think we'll just go for the Wisp, just for its disruption factor. Getting rebuked would suck. There's no way we can really stop that. I think I'm going to hold off on using Kinetic Surge, though, because Magmar does tons of 4 damage, like 3 and 4 health. It's little difference to Magmar. Oh, I suppose it does die to a Ripper that way. But I'd rather, lucky top deck Luminous to be able to go for that next turn. So let's just use Wisp just for the disruption and call that good. I'm just going to stay right here in the middle so we're still contesting these globes. And if we're lucky, maybe we even get to do Ghost Seraphim Spirit next turn. That'd be fancy. But, oh, okay. Aspect Wisp is like our favorite play. And just hopefully, he'll put something ranged to be able to do that. I'm expecting him to gap close with this, and then take a corner with Rag and play his Propagate, but we'll see what happens. Rebuke's also another strong possibility. Because, yeah, you can take the Globe, Propagate, and Rebuke, and that would be pretty dang good. Clear my field, mildly annoy the Beastclad. Oh, Tikati, fancy. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, well, I really want to clear the Beastclad if I can. But he's not giving me that option. Alright, well, let's see here. This is gonna have to clear the egg. If I just aspect the wisp onto the Earth Sister, it's gonna die, which is obnoxious, but well, we know we're gonna shoot this egg. We know that's gonna happen. Do I replace my hailstone or do I hold it? No, we'll hold on to it as it's just our emergency removal right now. Plus, if it comes down to it, we can use it to finish Mechazor. So let's go ahead, just clear that so we're not eating more damage. Get ourselves over on his side, so Ghost Seraphim will work out next turn. And we're also just contesting this globe. May end up having just use Seraphim just to clear this Beastclad, because it is a bit of a problem. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do here. I have to bring the cannon to a safe position. Super awkward. Because I don't have... Well, right, no, those grow tiles are a real concern, aren't they? Yeah, I think we're just going to have to go Seraphim and try to body block this young Slivar. It's pretty awkward. It's definitely not ideal, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, so clear that so it doesn't get a grow, because if that gets any bigger, that's a problem. And now, I think we just go face, because Seraphim should be able to deal with the Slither. If it can't, we can always Hailstone. And we're very close to Mechazor, which is typically hard for Rag to deal with. Okay, we've got... Ooh, very nice. We even have... We've got Mechazor with a full field buff, on Mech and both these fellows. That'll be a pretty good deal. This should work out pretty nicely. And if the Seraphim even lives, we can throw a Hailstone in there to just get rid of the Beastclad as well. Yeah, this would be nice. Alright, so we pop this here, drop the sword here. We set up the defensive. Oh no, let's go maximum defense here. Just stay as far back as possible. Drop that there. Drop this here. Nice and spread out. We're playing around Mechantor fairly well. Now we can... I suppose I probably should have stayed close enough to punch Slither with my face so that this could go at his face, but that's fine. So we'll pop that away. Now we'll Kinetic Surge, get a real nasty field buff. Move this in his direction. Clear that. And clear egg glitch. Clear the egg. Could have done 2 damage to his face, which would have probably been slightly better. Cannon wouldn't have been quite as defensive as it is, but this way we've played around Mechantor really well, and we're in a fairly winning position now. Well, he's just given up. So, I mean, that's what the deck does. We didn't get to do its main trick, which is, Spirit of the Wild Mechazor, but, we got to do some of its backup plans, and that's what it's all about. So I can either keep playing this till I finish my Vannar quest, or we can pull out one of my other Vannar decks. Up to you folks. If you don't get any input, I'll just grab a second game with it, and then maybe I'll pull out another Vannar list that I like. Let's see, what would I want to play next? I played a lot of my Tempo Fey last season. As much as I like the list, I think I've played it a little bit much, but it's still a lot of fun. Still really like it. And I think I'm just not really feeling walls right now. Yeah, maybe we'll go for some Tempo Fey. We certainly don't need 2 Seraphim. Probably don't need any Seraphim, really. Well, I don't know why they're shy. I love it when the viewers chat with me. Alright, so let's see. We're up against Rag again. It's a little early for Seraphim, and we don't have a Spirit in hand. Even if we do have a Spirit in hand, we really still mostly want to be using that with Mechazor. So I think we're just going to toss both of them for now. Look for our Malicious Wisps and mech progression, and of course Spirit as well. That's always good to see. Alright, we may just hold on to this hand here, because Luminous is probably too good to replace. Let's see, and we really do want to get to Mechazor. And it's a pretty good hand all around. What we really do want to dig for a Wisp, though, to try and keep him off of Wanderer, but since we can't make a turn 2 Wisp anyways, that may not be practical as it is. Well, let's see, what else do we really... Hailstone's really good versus Wanderer. Luminous wins games. And no, I think we're just going to hang tight with what we have. It's solid enough. Backup win condition, and we're almost to Mechazor. Okay, there's a Hailstone. That's perfect to deal with the inevitable Wanderer. Oh well, I'm glad you're at least chatting with me. Small audience today. I think I'm still competing with Meltdown Town, and I'm on a little earlier than usual. Interesting, he let me have the globe. That's a surprise. Alright, hey, we even got a useful mech in. Alright, so we're, okay, we're 1 mech off, but I think we're overall pretty happy with this. Shame to waste the mana, but I think we just want to play just nice old school progress mech. As we go here, we do need to develop the cannon though. So we'll just go ahead and let's see, Riffer can go bloop, bloop. So this is a safe spot. Well, no, that's not safe because potential Lava Slasher. Well, we can't actually Lava Slasher and move the Ripper over there. Yeah, okay, so we'll throw it this way just to split our focus. Split our focus here. We can test both of the globes. We're just gonna slowly progress Mechazor and see how that goes. Hailstones are particularly good versus Wanderer, especially while his hand's still nice and cluttered like this. Although, Maw. A common enough Wanderer card, but I may have made a mistake here because I've given him an early wanderer just off of the globes. Perhaps I... Well, no, because there was really no way I could contest this globe. Well, that's not true. Chassis may have been able to survive. But I think we're probably just going for a sword and a hailstone here. Yeah, that's our best bet. Gotta clear the field while we can, because Wanderer comes down next turn, and that's going to be really hard on us, so we'll just sword, hailstone, and it's not much, but it's what we got. And then we can sword and hailstone again this turn. I don't have tile, I've got chassis and sword. Or I didn't have wings. I suppose I could have tried to replace for it. Did I not replace last turn? So burn that off. We sort of have to get aggressive because he will win the long game on us. I've got pretty good potential for the 6 mana Luminous BBS next turn. I can probably clear what he puts down and trap him in the Luminous, but we'll see what happens. If Luminous isn't practical, Aspect may be where it's at. And we're holding on to the chassis just because, we need our mech progression. Now I may replace the Zor. We'll see what happens this turn. If I'm not playing Zor this turn, I'm replacing it. So I'd really rather find a proper mech progressor. On, always obnoxious. Ooh, and excellent positioning on his part, because now I can't even go for the aspect clear like I wanted to. And did not have a way to actually answer the Kron, which is excellent positioning on his part. So I can clear the egg here, and I can make a Luminous. It's not ideal, but it may just be what I need to do. Yeah, I think we just set up our Luminous, clear the egg, set up our Luminous, and that's just the best we got. Let's see, how do we do our Luminous? We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it works. It's not ideal, but it will work. We really wanted to block off all of the Kron spots. We also need to keep the rag in. So yeah, that's how it's going to have to be. So we'll clear that. And we'll develop our Luminous. Not the best Luminous, but could be worse. As long as he doesn't get the rush minion, we're in okay shape. And we'll either have Mechazor or a decent aspect next turn. Not much reason in me going face there, because 2 walls clear it. And I really don't want to take damage. Oof, Lightbender, rough. Now we don't even have a good aspect play either. And he's going to keep just hard punishing us with that Kron. And of course, Wanderer has 2 of their 3 possible dispels. Well, that may be it for us. Just Wanderer top decking like Wanderer does. Yeah, Spirit is not going to get me out of this. I mean, I can stall with Gravity, but it is not what we wanted to see right now. If we were on 8 mana, we could have had a very nice Gravity aspect, but that's just not going to work out, unfortunately. So, I guess, yeah, we're just stalling with Gravity, because it's the best we got. Not ideal at all, is because you really normally want to be getting a buff on your Gravity with. Which of my decks have the best Wanderer matchup? Well, that's not true. I have plenty of decks that are good against Wanderer. The problem you run into is you tend to be either good versus Wanderer, or Fault, or Burn, or Ragnar, but not all 3. So I can definitely go over that in just a minute here. I think we do. No, we're still going to try to hope for an aspect play here. But so Wanderer tends to be weak to answer or die decks. Oh god, of course. He has 2 of his 3 dispels and the plasma. I mean, when Wanderer high rolls, and there's not much you can do about it. When Wanderer doesn't high roll like crazy, answer or die decks do tend to do the trick. But pretty sure this is over because that provoke has just kept us from ever being in the position to use aspect effectively here. I mean, well, okay, I guess we're technically, we still have a small chance here thanks to Mechazor. Yeah, alright, so we can get the Spirit Mechazor. Not what we wanted, but that's what we have to do here. I mean, it's both of those things. I mean, without combos, Mechazor is just bad. Well, we may have bought ourselves 1 turn here. It is a pretty value-centered list for the most part. Like, we've got Kara's Wall Abuse and Kara's, and just Aspect of the Mountain's usually a amazing card, but it's just it is a little bit greedy because you're relying on walls or Mechazor. And Mechazor gets answered, you're screwed. If there's Dispel, you're screwed. And it's it's not a top 2 deck. It's just something fun I threw together. But to answer Nodene's question, so if we're just going to go with my most competitive lists, Wanderer, Dying Wish mob tends to just roll over Wanderer for the most part. But you have the normal issue with, if you don't find your ramp cards early, it can be a tough game, but Dying Wish mob can roll over Wanderer really well, especially if you're running stuff like Dagona. It's just one of the very, very few decks that can actually out-tempo Rag. However, the deck is a little bit Lion-R doesn't actually have a great mech deck because they have no way to give Mechazor Rush, and they and the giving Mechazor spell immunity back doesn't really do much. The best they can do is play sort of a Titan list, and the Titan, yeah, Bond is great versus Wanderer. Bond is a perfect example of this is a deck that is pretty hard counter to Wanderer, and then just eats it to Vet horribly. And that's the big issue with the meta. And this is a similar problem to Bond, is it's very strong versus Wanderer, but you have a tough time versus Vets, Blood of Air, and Sand Swirls unless you get your lucky early ramp. So this is good versus Wanderer, but struggles versus Vet. So Finality Rag is actually pretty good versus both Vet and Rag, but sometimes just your aggro decks and just really early tempo decks tend to give it a problem. But this, I wouldn't say this is an amazing matchup versus Wanderer. This deck's whole deal is it's decent versus everything, and if you know how to play it, it's okay. So I wouldn't say this one's great. This is good versus Wanderer, but struggles versus Vet. This is Sexy Lizard Vath, just walks all over Wanderer, but just automatically loses to Khanum Ka. So that's that same problem again. I'm actually probably updating this list shortly with the list I brought to Meltdown Town this week, just because I like switching it up a little bit and squeezing the finalities into it, because basically, this is the Vath list without Vath. Instead of Crypto Drogon, you have Desi Spikes and no vulnerability to Khanum Ka. So this is another list that's just a good all-arounder that's just pretty decent versus everything. But high roll Wanderer is high roll Wanderer, and it doesn't you're good versus Plasma goes a long way versus eggs, but the deck doesn't have a lot of ping, so lots of eggs can be tough on you unless you have just the perfect Plasmas and the Cantors. Let's see here. Well, I think Vitruvian, it's one of those three decks. Obviously, if you're talking about Young Slithar, I've never been a real fan. Because Young Slithar, yes, is a very good 2-drop, but I like my 2-drops to actually be useful beyond just being stats. I want, if I'm playing a minion for value, that's going to be 3 and 4 mana minions are just infinitely better than a Young Slithar could. Flash Sunsteel. Good times. When Sunsteel was 4 attack, it was amazing for Magmar. It was just a hard staple. But now that it's 3 attack and it dies to your own Plasma Storms, and 3 attack doesn't kill all the things you need it to, and it conflicts with Nat Select a bit. No, unfortunately, before Sunsteel's nerf, I used to go for Kajata and Sunsteel over the Golem package. But now that your Sunsteel dies to Plasma Storm and just doesn't trade like he used to, now I go for the Ragebinder over him. But as I was saying with Young Slithar, so I guess that wasn't what you were asking about, but this is a strong 2-drop, but if I'm playing a minion for value, you can get way more out of 2 and 3, so I rather my 2-drops be, utility minions. They're ramping out the things that are better than Young Slithar and providing heals in the late game, or things along that. I prefer utility out of my 2-drops rather than straight power. I don't care if my 2-drop is better than your 2-drop, because that's going to become irrelevant next turn. But yeah, I got you. So Fault Vet, that's one of the big bullies of the meta, and it's as long as you tech it, it can walk all over Wanderer. I've currently teched my Fault Vet, with Scorns and EMPs, so it just walks all over eggs and Wanderer in general. But that's just one of those big bully decks. Personally, I think Vault Bet is the #1 deck in the game. The reason why Ragnarok / Wanderer is generally rated higher is because, on average, Vault Xerix is a better deck, but not by much. Like, if we're not talking about high rolls, Vault Vet probably has a 10-15% better win rate than Wanderer. But that's just talking about in general. But Wanderer's ability to just high roll, Wanderer's ability to just high roll and auto win games is why it's so popular. It's just people win games they have no business winning, and it's just complete luck. Nothing to do with them, nothing to do with anything other than just crapshoot levels of luck, and that's why it's doing so well. Because on your average game, yes, Vault Bet is more consistently stronger, but who cares about that when you can just auto win 25% of your matches. And that's why Wanderer's one of the most unhealthy decks we've ever seen, and such a problem. So obviously Vault Bet, as long as you tech it to beat Wanderer, and Rag does very well at doing that. But that is the problem you're going to run into a lot, is you're either going to be good versus Vault, or Wanderer Rag, or you're going to be playing one of those, and that's what you run into. Walls are unfortunately a bit of a crapshoot because they have the normal thing of, does EMP or Bender show up? No? Alright, we roll over you. Yes? Well, you probably lose. And that's just unfortunately how it goes. Now, my Vesper variant does a little bit better in that regard, because it can actually just fall back onto Vespers rather than being pure walls, and that's why it's my preferred wall deck. And then Tempo Fey is another. That's what you'll see with a lot of my decks. Is I try to build things that are just good all-arounders. Like, they don't have any really strong or weak matchups. I do my best to try and build stuff that will consistently have a good chance against anything, but it won't give you those auto wins, and it won't hard counter things. And that's just sort of always been my style. I like to try to outskill my opponent and have a good chance and be prepared for everything. But just to really answer your question, if you really just want to beat Wanderer, your best bets are probably, Vath, Vault Xerix, or something like Dying Wish Mauve or Bond Argion. What you'll run into, though, is while you'll do well versus Wanderer, you will very much struggle versus Vet, and that's just unfortunately how it is. But if you really just want to beat Wanderer, that's your best bet to do. But unfortunately, even if you build your deck specifically to beat Wanderer, they can still just high roll, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But that's enough complaining about Wanderer in the meta. I hope I helped answer your question at least a little bit. Some of you even sat around for my rant there. But yeah, I love Vath. Vath is very strong, very consistent, but Khanum Ka just sort of completely edges him out of the meta. And that's why I recently built this, because it's basically Vath without Vath. I'm still testing this list, but I think this might be a contender for one of the best decks in the game. Probably just below Vault and Wanderer, but I think it's right there after them, because it doesn't have Vath's. Hopefully my answer was good enough to get you to use that Twitch Prime. But shameless self-plug aside. This is a list I've been working on, and I do think it it may be a contender for, like top 5 best decks in the game, just because it doesn't have, well, it doesn't quite have the raw power of Bet, and it doesn't quite have the crapshoot value that Wanderer does, and it's not quite as consistent as that. It also is just a really scary deck that can deal with anything. So we'll probably play a little bit of this today, just because I just sort of want to show it off. So far it's got a pretty ridiculous win rate. It's got the ability, the combination of Magmar's classic, Plasma Rebuke, Natural Selection, Macantor, Slasher, leaves you in a position to just answer anything. You can also high roll into ramped Desi Spikes. You can get those like double Desi Spike combos or those early finalities. So you also have some high roll potential. You don't have any like inherent weaknesses like between Healing Mystic and finalities and Ragebinder. You walk all over aggro. Between your excess AoE, you walk all over all sorts of swarm decks. Between Desi Spikes tends to just, that's just really, really hard on Wanderer because, they're completely board focused, which is one of the only is a good aspect about Wanderer. I love that it's a mid-range board focused deck. Just the crapshoot nature of it is what's the issue. But the best way to beat Wanderer is with decks that don't really care about their board. So we're just going to beat Wanderer by killing them from, full with Desi Spikes or just completely blowing up their board every turn. That'll do the trick. But we'll come back to that in a bit. I still have some Vanar quests to do. We had some fun with, good old Mechazor Vanar, but it's just not what it used to be. But that it's competitive. Yes, Saurian Starhorn. It's not Starhorn. It's my cowardly Vath deck. That's what it is. It's Vath pretending to be Starhorn. Starhorn is just here because you can't play Vath versus Vath, and that's how it's going. All right, so let's go ahead and play. I do not know what I just queued up with. Let's not do that. I think we'll switch over to Tempo Fey for my last couple Vanar quests here. Unless there's an alternative request, and then I'm happy to oblige. Otherwise, let's go ahead and play some Tempo Fey for the next couple games here, and then we'll probably switch over to showing off this deck that I've been talking up so much, and hopefully it will hold up to the hype I've been giving it. Unfortunately, the meta is incredibly luck-based these days due to Wanderer and the like, so it's just, no matter how good a player you are, no matter how good your deck is, you will still just lose to crapshoot stuff here and there. I really appreciate CD's perfectly balanced aesthetic ribbons here. Actually, Creep is on my agenda today of something I've been wanting to mess with some more. Currently, I'm stuck on trying to make Tormentor work. I haven't done the dedicated Intensify stuff since we got the old Creep tools back, but it's something to still think about. Alright, so we're up against Lilith, so we need to be finding our AoE, so we need to be digging for... Well, let's pull up my list here. We're looking for Frostburns and Paragons. We're particularly looking for Paragons because if it's Wanderer, Paragon is good versus Wanderer as well. It's our primary Wanderer tech. Alright, so it's not Wanderer. But we're still looking for Paragons and Frostburns because that's our best bet at dealing with them. We shouldn't need Lightbenders in this matchup. Alright, so it looks like we're probably just going to... go for a Hearth Sister just to deny the Globe and clear his field off. Sort of want to save the Blood Tier for now. sort of want to save the Blood Tier for now, just because I want to be able to ping off Wraith. So I think our best open here, it's not particularly fancy, but you know, Globe Denial and keeping Lilith's field clear is important. So next turn we can Blood Tier a Wraith and Malicious Wisp. The only list I run Night Fiends in is my aggro list. Outside of aggro, I found them to be fairly unimpressive and tend to have better options. There goes that Blood Tier plan. Well, we have to clear the Furiosa. We just gotta do that. Alright, well, EMP is way too far off. Oh, Paragon, good. That'll help get us back into the game. I think we're probably just going to have to play a very awkward Wisp here. We've got to clear the Furiosa, and we'll just develop the... Well, alternatively, we could go for the Crypto, just to clear... Nah, it's not a real valuable Crypto. We'd rather save that for later on with the Mental Cells. We'll just play a really awkward Wisp that's probably just going to eat it to that Wraithling that's going to get buffed up as well. But you know, we're doing our best just to hang on here. If he doesn't, hopefully the Wisp Mana Steal will keep him from doing anything. You know, a Crescendo or a Grimoire would still be pretty rough right now. We've kept him off of Chakram, which was the biggest concern. And luckily these fellows aren't going to die, so you can't actually get much out of a Crescendo or Grimoire this turn. And next turn we should be able to Sunset Paragon to clear fairly well here. And if we're really lucky, he won't even clear our Wisp, and that would be pretty nice. But I'm not really expecting the Wisp to survive. But let's see what happens here. Is that another Furiosa? Yeah. Probably. Yeah, there it is. Hopefully we'll have a good spot to play our Paragon, but Lilith is going to be sitting right in the middle of that, and it's not going to make that easy. Especially if it gets backline spawns like that. My best Paragon is right there. I can kill 3 things and get that to a position where it will die to Blood Tier. However, am I just dead if I do that? Let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 11. I'm technically alive if I do that. Let's see. If I run away, is it any better? Run away. Paragon's not really worth it. Well, maybe. If I run away in Paragon, that will clear those 2. Leaving him with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, my best bet is just to play the Sunset Paragon here and pray by some miracle he doesn't have one of the many, many ways he could finish me off this turn. 2, 4, 6, 7. Got 6 health, but yeah, Crescendo or a... I have to replace this Mentor, unfortunately, because I need to dig for more AoE. Crescendo, yep, there it is. Ah, well. We did our best, but he had pretty much the most ideal hand possible for Hyperswarm. He had Furiosa Crypto, into Crescendo Pact. That was just brutal. That's about as good as a Swarm hand can get. Poor Saj, this is not a kind matchup for her. I'm running EMP and Machine Gun Faye. This is pretty unfortunate for her. Alright, so we shouldn't need Herald because we're not worried about getting aggroed, and we're not terribly concerned. Varks and Creep, mostly a meme. I've had fun with it. I've made decks. Now, during rotations, Varks was actually pretty good. Varks Creep was actually quite decent in rotations, but now it's back to being rather underwhelming. Alright, so don't need healing. We probably want the Bender to go with the Wisp, but probably don't need this Cryo. Alright, so shame to replace the Crypto, but oh no, what we don't need is this Paragon. That's not going to do much at all for us this match. Alright, Wisp Spam should do the trick. So we'll just go ahead and Globe Deny with our sister and start beating up that Golem. We should be able to clear the Celebrant and go for a turn 2 Wisp. Herald goes. We're not terribly concerned about getting aggroed down. Now that's a bit more of a problem. Because I really want to save my Bender to go with the Wisp or to stop a Bolt. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. In this case, this just looks like it's going to be Bender. Really wanted to play a Wisp this turn, but I suppose technically it's not the end of the world if Celebrant gets another hit on me. Yeah, I think we will go ahead and Globe Deny and play a Wisp. That way next turn, if we Bender, we can clean up this and the Wisp. Frostburn's good to see, because he may be like dedicated Sirocco Golems, or he may be Fault. Either way, Frostburn's good. And there's also a good chance he's just playing Golems for the draw engine, but still. Yeah, this should turn out to be a very good Bender turn. This is going to hurt a bit this turn. Meltwater Moose can go. As much as I love Moose, you got to know when to replace him. He's very good in the right situation, and he's replace fodder the rest of the time. That makes Cryogenesis draw a card. But yeah, no, we've got a perfect Bender. Moose can go. Okay, so we want to come down here to clear that with our face. We want to Bender both of these wishes away. We want to clear his golems off the field, and that was a very, very productive turn. Now, we're in a weird spot of we know he's playing artifacts. Like, if Saj wasn't enough of a clue, he just played Planar Foundry. I probably could have positioned that a little bit better. Wish should have been here because Onk is likely about to happen and suck. I should have set myself up a little better for that, but once turn is done. I think we do just sort of want to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we just want to sort of hold on to all of our ping for when he equips an artifact next turn. It's a shame to waste our mana, but sometimes it's better to waste your mana and conserve your resources, because we want to be able to break his artifact next turn. Well, he's not going to just clear them both. Curious. Very curious. Well, maybe he is actually an aggro list, and I was underestimating it. But, alright, so we want to Warbird. Warbird again. And clear that off the rest of the way. Our ult was getting dangerously low, and I foolishly replaced my Azure Heralds thinking, oh, well, Saj isn't aggro. And I may end up paying for that. So I'm going to have a pretty tough time recovering. Like, you know, if he's got a Blood of Air this turn, I'm almost dead. Blood of Air leaves me with 2 health, but it also puts him in a pretty tough spot. Good old Sand Swirl. That's slightly better than... Well, it's not better. No, it's better. But will he? Nah, he's backing off. He can't afford to just come into the middle of all of that. Alright, so... let's see. Probably don't need this Frostburn. I don't think he's actually dedicated golems. I guess we'll move that towards him. Move this in his face. And we do want to clear the Sand Swirl, but how do we want to clear the Sand Swirl? I think Cryo's actually our best... Oh, yeah, Cryo's our best bet. Cryo and Wisp. Though, I really don't want the Wisp to be in melee range, and I really want to cover the tile. I do want to keep him off of Vault, so yeah, let's go ahead and Cryo, Wisp, Gap Close, go face, back off. Hopefully he's not running Lost in the Desert. We're really trying to dig our Heralds back up. So while he can clear the Wisp, Spinecleaver, yes, but EMP will come in and help deal with that, and that will also conveniently keep that tile nice and clear. Though he also may just be dead. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I am 1 off of lethal. Ah, jeez. That's okay. We can just go ahead and go for the EMP. Probably shouldn't have done that, but this is fine. I should have cleared that off first, but oh well. What's done is done is done. So EMP. Go ahead and do that. Warbird. And we'll go ahead and toss a Blood Tear here as well, just in case of Lost in the Desert. He's fairly well boxed in. He's got 1 health. Let's see. Ways he could kill me. If he had... no, even if he did, like... whatever... okay, he could kill me with Bone Swarm and Lost in the Desert. But short of Bone Swarm, Lost in the Desert, I think he is done in. Mel, yeah. Ankh is not what he wanted to see. Well, I mean, perhaps. Maybe it is. Yeah, there's the blood of air. But he's dead to Warbird. That was a fun match. He did really well considering I'm pretty much as hard of a counter for him as possible. Alright, so that's the end of my Vanar quest here, so I think let's go ahead and move on to Starhorn and Greek Cassava variants. So we'll do Starhorn next, just because I've spent so much time hyping the deck up. I hope it can live up to its name here. Let's see here. It's my Cowardly Vath deck. Because Vath is too afraid of Ka these days. So he's putting on a hat and pretending to be a wizard. Wizard lizard. Alright, so we're up against Kara. Well, we don't have any Dispel in our main deck. The combination of Plasma and Rebuke keep us pretty well off for potential walls. And other than walls, Kara doesn't pose that much of a threat. So we've got our very nice Abjugator, Finality Plasma. Natural Selection often does not do much versus Kara, and we want to find an opening play. It's a shame to replace Slasher, but we need to find an opening play, and we need to be looking for more things to go with our Abjugator. Ooh, well, we found more things to go with our Abjugator. We certainly don't need 2 Finalities. Oh boy, that's well, we didn't get an opening play. That's about as an ideal of an Abjugator turn 2 as we can get. Because 2-cost spikes make Decimus very scary. Like, we're going to have 7 mana Finality, or an 8 mana Deci Lethal, depending on how things go. We'll probably, and since we should have a Globe next turn, we'll hold on to our Lava Slasher. Well, not next turn, but turn after, but yeah, it'll be defensively placed Abjugator this turn, contest Globes, and then likely Lava Slasher the following turn. But we'll see what happens here. Healing Mystic. Doesn't really tell us much of... Oh, it's Wanderer. Okay. Well, now that we know it's Wanderer, that does change things a little bit. Because we really... Oh. Okay, we can deny a Globe with Abjugator. We need to be looking for Rebuke, and we need to be looking for Decimus. Well, I really don't want to replace my Slasher. There are things we need to find more. And we very well may need that Plasma Storm. Well, Canter's not bad. Alright, so we can keep him off of Wanderer this turn. And did we trade face here? That's a tough call. Oh no, I despise Desi Spikes. I hate it with a passion. However, of all of the things that I dislike about Duelist, it is the one I dislike the least. It is still on the list of things that I think have no place in the game at all. But unlike Spell High, Desi Spikes has counterplay. Like, you can really punish the Starhorn player. You can really punish the Starhorn player for feeding you cards. If he's low on health, he just can't do the combo, so you can, if there's counterplay, like, you could just attack him and burst him down. Like, if they're at 6 health or lower, like, they can't just kill you with spikes anymore. You can constantly punish them for feeding you cards, and it's also the only source of burn in the deck. So, is it still healthy? No. Like, that type of high roll burst that there's not a lot you can do about has no place in the game. But it is the least offensive. It's considerably less offensive than any sort of Songhai variant. It's way less offensive than RNG Wanderer. And it's way less offensive than Polarizing Caw. Now, after those three things, yes, it's on my shit list. Like, those three things need to be dealt with, and then if all of those get dealt with, then Spikes is next, and then after that, Wanderer, or not, just Ragnaros in general, and Zirion are a little overtuned. But if the actual problematic things in the game get dealt with, then we have the fun position of, now the things that can counter Zirion and can counter Ragnaros come back, and the game is a lot healthier and balanced. So, they are still overpowered and overtuned, but if the problems get dealt with, the meta can naturally sort itself out, but I wouldn't mind seeing them also get dealt with. But now we have a perfect Plasma Storm turn. Perfect Plasma Storm, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to push base, because that's all we really need to be doing, is just stalling until 8 mana. I certainly don't want to replace my Macantor. If we can just find a flash, we're about to win. So, it sucks to replace Macantor. We need to find something to do next turn, as currently we got nothing, and or just dig out a win with Decimus here. Alright, well, it's not much, but it's at least something. So, and we still have replace on that backup finality. There's nothing funny about 8 gates ever. 8 gates is the most unhealthy thing in the entire game. Well, I suppose we can just go for a naked Decimus and see how that goes. If we can't answer it, then we just win. And as a Wanderer list, they tend to struggle with backline threats, so we'll just go ahead and do that. If it sticks, great. If it doesn't, hey, we found a Rebuke. Alright, we're in good shape. We just need to, if we suddenly get bursted down, Finality will top us off. Well, I don't blame them. Well, I just don't understand why anyone would want to play as that. Like, you're not even playing Duelist. It's just, like, that's a really cool deck. That's a really cool concept for a card game. If you want to play a card game, go play a card game. Like, there are dozens of card games, like, so many card games. If you want to play a card game, you can play a card game. If you're playing Duelist, it's because you want to play a board game. So it just baffles me that anyone would want to just play Duelist, play a board game, and, go and play with themselves and play solitaire card game. Like, Songhai belongs as a Magic the Gathering red deck. There it's awesome. There it's cool. There it's pretty fun. There it's the type of deck I play. But that's because I'm playing a card game and I want to do that. Duelist is a board game. And if Duelist tries to compete with card games, it will fail. It can't compete with card games. Like, there are way too many big names like Magic and Hearthstone. That is not the market they can compete with. They need to secure their niche as a board game. Now we've got Rebuke to deal with Wanderer. We have, if you can't deal with Decimus this turn, he's just dead. And even if you can, we're only a couple turns off of just doing that out of hand. Thanks, Stone. Well, that will help. Alright, so... It's a shame to just Rebuke, especially since, we really want to save that for Wanderer itself. But... I don't want to replace the Metallurgist, but... Oh ho ho. Okay. Yeah, that works for me. Oh boy. Well, alright, I guess we're just going to do double Desi Spikes next turn with a Bloodborne spell and everything. We'll throw an Abjugator down and a Rebuke just because we just want to clear the field. And next turn, unless he heals a lot, that is it for him. I think we'll just go ahead and run away. And we have 20 out-of-hand damage right now. And if he just does a crap load of healing this turn, we can throw a Macantor at him. Ah, yes. Abjugator is actually... I've been putting together a really, really detailed balance patch that I'm going to post on the forums for sure soon, just once I feel like it's ready, and Abjugator's on my shit list. I didn't actually change Gates or Mantra, I just removed the things that abuse with them. And Abjugator is typically more problematic than Gates and Mantra itself, but yeah, let's just go ahead and do this nonsense. Feels gross, but unfortunately this is what Wanderer and Wanderer Burn and Caw has pushed me into. If Caw didn't exist, I would gladly play VAF instead of this, but fortunately Caw exists. That was pretty gross, but that's just what the deck does. It can high roll like that. I suppose we could do that. They're not complete yet though, because every change affects the other changes. And I plan to try and post it sort of by the end of the week. I'm slowly working on it, but at bare minimum, we need an emergency balance patch to deal with Wanderer and deal with Common Caw. If those two things happen, then the game will naturally transition back into a little bit more of a healthy position. There are definitely a lot more things that could be addressed, but these two things need to happen. If those happen, the game will naturally balance itself out. Right. So, we either need just this to happen, or we need a lot. So I'm about 75% done. I'm still going through, tweaking numbers and examining other cards, but I suppose we can just go over what I have so far. So we'll start in the neutral pool, because messing with the neutral pool messes with everybody else first. So, of course, again, just the same suggestion to Wanderer. Bare minimum, I really want to see Wanderer completely reworked. Highlander is just incredibly unhealthy. But, at bare minimum, make them cost 7 mana and have the buff only apply to minions summoned from your action bar. Yes, that'll make them a lot weaker, but that's a good thing. And then Kanam Ka. I saw somebody else suggest that just leave them alone as is and have them only replace wind dervishes. That would be actually pretty cool. I like that. Or my suggested change, make him 4 mana, because that has way too much 5 already. Make him 2/3, and remove flying. Now he's still a strong unit, but he's not like instant death to Vath, and positioning matters. But moving on from those, the next thing is we need to clean up like RNG problems in the game. So like first things first, like Battle Pet. There's just a couple tiny rules we could add that would completely remove all RNG from them and make them actually pretty neat cards. So basically, as usual, this doesn't change. Currently, Battle Pets prioritize the closest opposing unit. That doesn't change. That needs to stay how it is. That should be a Battle Pet's first priority. Move in before it looks at anything else. It looks to move and attack the closest enemy. But if we add one more rule to that, we give them a second priority: horizontal movement, horizontal forward movement, and targets. Now, if there would be a coin flip, instead there is not. Now they will always pick going horizontal and that target, always, if there are 2 units equally spaced apart. Now there is no more RNG at all, and they're really actually cool and healthy. And then we also just toss in, Rock. Rock is a battle pet that can't move. Add that to all of the ranged battle pets, and we're good. And that way you don't even have to mess with giving them their own coding or anything. You just make them stay put. Alright, so Abjugator, we were just talking about him. So Abjugator, give him actually a decent stat line, but what he does is he reduces 1 card in your hand. You pick one, reduces 1 card. No more Hyrule. He's actually just a decent balanced card now. So Rakdopa, this is targeted at 8 gates, since I don't actually change 8 gates or mantra themselves, but I go after things that are causing their abuses. So Rakdopa, just make him do Opening Gambit, deal 2 damage. That was actually just a good card. You'll see play outside of 8 gates. But now he's not abusing 8 gates. So Decimus, this one's a pretty big change. So the first time your opponent draws a card, they take 5 damage. Yeah, that's scary. It's really scary with Starhawk. But you know what? That's okay. It's actually a good card now. It might even see play outside of Starhorn, but now there's no more Deci Spikes, double Deci Spikes. There's no more Hyrule. It's now just a good card, a Starhorn staple, and no more Hyrule. That and Abjugator cleaned up, and now Starhorn is strong, but not Hyrule. Like, in theory, Starhorn might be slightly better than before, but no more randomly you're dead and there's nothing you can do about it. So Mechazor, this isn't a big deal, but it's just something I'd like to see. He's been suffering lately. I think, give him a big stat bump, because losing spell immunity was just too much. So, just give him a big stat bump, and, that's probably all they need. And then the other thing, again, I've been going through and just cleaning up all RNG in the game. Jaxi, summon in the closest corner. Zor, keep it in the neutral pool. Just, the core original mechs. Those are the only things you can pull. A little bit random, but not this giant crapshoot of, anywhere between getting Mechazor in your hand to Rex to some weird faction mech unit. No, a very, very small amount of RNG, but reliable. So Ghoulie, I think, is a perfect opportunity to give that, perfect stat line mana bomb. He's just a tiny bit weaker than Hailstone Golem, but he is a golem. Ultimately, he is a golem for the most part. He's all tribes. For being all tribes, he is slightly weaker than Hailstone. They've gotten rid of most of the 4/5 stat lines, and 4/5 stat lines are a pretty big deal. Like, especially if we address everything else in the game, bring everything else down to a balanced level. Magmar might get a little out of hand, but Magmar has natural counterplay. You can play around their removal. You can play things with 4 or 5 bodies that really give them a hard time. So I thought Ghoulie was a good spot to throw in a good 4 or 5 body that could be useful in a lot of different decks. So Lodestar, again, we're just removing all RNG, making him actually a decent card. Astral Crusader, so this is by no means something that needs to happen, but he's such a cool card. It's a shame he's so awkward. So my suggestion is, revert his buff, make him go back to, cost 1 less, gain +1/+1, but we make him tutor himself. If you replace 2 or more cards a turn, he pops into your hand from the deck. Just make him tutor himself. I think it would be far from broken, but it would make him playable. White Widow, pretty much, again, we're just going through and getting rid of all RNG. No more, random coin flip targets. We make things target the closest units. That just needs to be a consistent thing throughout the game. Bloodstone Gambler, cards should probably just be deleted, but 9 mana, 9/4, same effect, fine. It's now on par with World Golem, whatever. Blue Conjurer, this one I'm still thinking about. We need to eliminate the RNG on it, but I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do that. I thought about maybe having him just add 2 of those standard 2/1 illusions to your hand, but that might be too much card advantage. Just being a fat Circulus isn't quite enough, so I'm thinking maybe a little bit beyond the standard illusion and just a slightly stronger illusion, but still thinking about that one. Alright, so Grimes, here's a change that I think would be really cool. So he could be a really powerful card, but you actually have to build around him now. There's no more RNG. It's just, the last tribal unit you played, that's what he summons now. So if you played a Ragebinder, you'll summon a Ragebinder. Hey Leglock, thanks for stopping by. Currently, the chat roped me into spoiling some of my, just overarching ways to make the game healthy. I'm planning to make a forum post, probably by the end of the week, just with sort of my proposed balance changes, which are mostly at targeting RNG and the unhealthy aspects of the game. What? No, that's exactly what I run Zor occasionally because I want a 2-drop minion that provides card advantage and will help progress Mechazor. That's what I run him for. That's what we want him to do. We want him to not be RNG, and we want him to be consistent. Now he will always give you one of the traditional neutral mechs that progresses Mechazor, and he not to mention, we've also cleaned up the Battle Pet AI, so Battle Pet AI is actually useful now. Alright, so now that we've gone through neutral, now I'm just going through the factions as they appear in the game. So starting with Lionar, basically we want to, again, reduce RNG and reduce polarized aspects and, tone Zirian down just a little bit. So Sunriser, an easy change is just make it proc only on the first time something is healed. Currently, I've still got, I'm still working on these numbers. I'm still thinking, but the big thing is, let's make Sunriser at its base stronger, just like we did with Decimus, but no longer high rolly, silly levels of burst potential. Strong base, consistent, no more high rolls. So I think just dealing 3 damage would probably be good. Because again, we are trying to nerf Zirian here. This is actually supposed to tone her back a little bit, so it should be a fair way to, deal with Sunrise. Make him consistently good, but no longer high rolling. And then same with Vitriol, just remove the RNG aspect from it, then it's fine. And then Lucent Beam, this is the biggest problem with Zirian. Zirian has Like, I mean, Burn has little place in the game as it is, and Zirian has no business being truly a Burn list. Again, we are trying to tone her back a little bit, because, after Wanderer, after Khanum Ka, after Rag, she's right there being an issue. And, well, right. But, we're targeting Sunriser, and we're targeting Lucent Beam for toning back her damage. If we also remove Vitriol's damage, that would probably be a bit much. The RNG needs to go. The RNG is a problem. It needs to go regardless of whether the card gets buffed or nerfed. But as it stands, we're targeting Sunriser and Lucent Beam to tone down her burst/burn, and we're just removing the RNG on Vitriol. And, those three small changes should just... Right, and Lucent Beam... I mean, that would also work, but the RNG needs to be removed. Like, I'm trying to just clean up RNG in the game as a whole. At 4 and 5 mana, it would just never get used. Like, it already doesn't make it into every Zirian list. And so, again, just remove the RNG, remove Sunriser's high roll, and just no more face damage from Lucent Beam at all. None of that. But again, artifacts, I think, in theory, artifacts should be powerful. There are so many ways to deal with artifacts. We have EMP, we have ping. There are so many ways to deal with artifacts that if artifacts are a problem and you're losing to artifacts, you should be able to do something about this. So, if we remove the RNG aspect of that, and we tone down Sunriser's high roll, and buff Lucent Beam, but remove its ability to go face, now Zirian should still be a very strong deck, but she's no longer this white Songhai list. She's now still very good, but is back in mid-range where she should be. So this one I'm not sure about. In theory, I like Titan, but it suffers the same problem as Hyperswarm does, as it creates very polarized games. It's this very linear effect that is just devastating to some decks, and then some decks just don't care about it at all. So Titan is just like Hyperswarm, which I also will be addressing later on. Titan can cause some very polarized matchups, and I can't think of a way to just rework it. Yeah, right, exactly. That's the problem. Bad and good matchups that are to such a polarizing degree are inherently unhealthy. We don't want rock, paper, scissors. We don't want coin flips. We want decks to be consistent and based on skill, not just who did you get matched up with. So that's why, like Hyperswarm, it's a polarizing problem. And I don't have a lot of good ideas of how to fix the polarized issue, but I think if you put them to 8 mana, keep in mind, everything else that's strong is also getting toned down in this balance patch. This isn't just, I'm not just nerfing Titan to 8 mana just because I dislike him. It's because since everything else that's super scary right now is also going to get hit in this theoretical balance patch, he could rise too far to the top, and considering its polarizing nature, that's something we really don't want. So it's just something that I feel, due to the other drastic changes I'm doing, should be nipped in the bud. Putting him at 8 mana should largely remove the polarizing aspect. Just because, anything that happens at 8 mana tends to be fine. Like, that's where everything's crazy endgame stuff is. If it's 8 mana, it's fine. Polarized or not, that's okay. And, now at 8 mana, you're encouraged to build the decks in a more well-rounded fashion. condition. You're much more encouraged to go for the the more mid-range approach that's really well teched to deal with the current meta. Now you just have a good deck with an in-game win condition, and I think that would be a good thing, because I want to try and tone down, the main goal for this whole theoretical balance patch is to remove RNG, put emphasis on skill, and tone down on polarized aspects. That's the big thing. So, and then the next one, Strategos. This is another thing. I'm completely spitballing on this, but again, like everything with RNG, I'm trying to address it and get rid of the RNG issues. So the way we can remove the polarized aspect from Strategos is no more high roll, play Jack's True Strike, play 3 Zixes and a Dream Shaper, and you high roll and there's not much your opponent can do about it. Get rid of the high roll start, make it progress only with things from Action Bar, but make it overall stronger in trade. Make it consistent, make it clear, make it fair. So, make it only take 8 minions rather than 12, but now it's only things from the Action Bar. I'm not sure on the exact numbers on that. I'm spitballing there. It'd be something that, should this by some miracle come to be, would be a number that you need to keep an eye on of, where does he need to be. He'd probably be something you couldn't just change once and forget. Probably need, 2 or 3 tweaks to find the perfect spot after some extensive testing. And then the other thing is, ultimately his RNG is not that big a deal, but still, it's just generally unhealthy. We really want him to consistently always promote into the same thing. Yeah, current Strategos is balanced, but like Titan and Hyperswarm, it leads to very polarized matchups. It's very, did I high roll into Jax on curve and a few early extra spawners, and did I get good promotes? And it's very polarizing, and does your opponent, it's a combination of did I high roll and or did my opponent have good AoE, and it's not a real great design at its core. Is it balanced right now? Yes. Is it healthy? Not really. There are plenty of things in the game that are ultimately balanced but not healthy. Same can be said for Titan, Hyperswarm, and most burn decks in general. Most of the burn decks aren't actually, top tier by any means. They're ultimately balanced because they're not that strong, but balance and healthy are not necessarily the same thing. I don't actually dislike Trials. In theory, Trials are pretty neat. They're mostly missing their mark right now. In theory, I like Trials. Unfortunately, most of them are missing the mark. I think they could be tweaked and redesigned to be healthy and balanced. And if we remove both the high roll and the RNG from Strategos, I think he could be that. And that's all for Lionel. Just a slight nudge in Zirian to move her back towards mid-range and not burn, and nipping Titan in the bud beforehand. And then, again, I'm not sure on the numbers or what things should be, but Strategos we should remove the high roll and the RNG aspect from it. Okay, so Songhai. So here's the part everybody's, waiting for, because everybody likes to take my feelings about Songhai out of context, make jokes about, oh, he just hates Songhai and is salty. I actually don't hate Songhai. I think Songhai is pretty cool. I hate Spellhai. There's a big difference. Overall, I want Songhai has a lot of cool potential, a lot of cool things about it. I want those to be the focus. And I'm ultimately fine with stuff like Phoenix Fire. It's core to their identity, it's fine. The problem with Burn is when it becomes your primary win condition and there's little to no counterplay. When you have Burn that can do incredible burst and ignores all forms of positioning, that's an issue. Yeah, I'm also trying to, go through and touch on cards that never see play as well. I did that with Crusader and a few other things like that. But right now, again, this isn't done. This is just I happened to mention it because people were talking about Balanced Lot and people wanted to, get a spoiler on what I had so far. So slightly moving on to Songhai again. I'm not trying to nerf the faction. I'm trying to make them stronger and healthier. So let's finally get to that. All right. So Shidai. Shidai at her core is just a perfect example of everything I hate about Songhai. Kalios is a perfect example of everything I love about Songhai. But Shidai embodies everything that's wrong with the faction. She is RNG, supports the most solitaire-based strategies imaginable, and is just a giant problem all around here. People love to hate on Magmar, but Magmar is a little overtuned right now, but that's mostly Ragnarok. I'm doing some massive sweeping changes to Ragnarok, which we'll get to in a bit. But overall, I think Magmar is generally a pretty healthy design. They're very, very powerful, very consistent. They have pretty clear identity, but they are 100% board focused, and all of their abilities, all of their removal, all have excellent counterplay. You can play the right bodies, you can position, you can play multiple bodies to play around all their stuff there. But yes, Ragnar right now is a bit of a problem, and because something has been strong or weak isn't really relevant to how something should be adjusted. The majority of Magmar is really well designed. It's very powerful, consistent, and has counterplay and is board focused. That's what the game should be. And we want factions to be strong. We want decks to be strong. We want people to be able to play what they want and have fun. And some things have higher skill caps, some things have lower skill caps, and that's beside the point. But yeah, Ragnarok, we'll be talking a lot about Ragnarok soon. But don't just get on the nerf something because you hate it train. As we're about to go over with Songhai, I'm not trying to nerf them. I'm trying to make them healthy. I'm trying to make them more like. Anyway, that's it. So Shidai is just a perfect embodiment of the things that are wrong. So we need to completely remove the RNG. Just give her a modular Bloodborne spell. Activate it. You get to choose between backstab, moving an opposing unit, or extra move. Just choose. No RNG, no spell to your hand. You just get to choose from 3 effects. Be cool, be unique, and would sort of cement her as she's the one you want to go to for using artifact decks. So, giving her the ability to choose between utility like that is going to be crazy strong. But no more spell abuse, no more RNG, no more randomly getting to be able to draw cards as well. So, that's the type of thing I'm trying to do with Songhai. We're trying to make them strong, but healthy and fair. So, next off, Inner Focus and Assassination Protocol. They're both really historically problematic, design-limiting cards. They have caused problems for a long time. And you know what would fix that? Don't let them work on neutral minions. Now you don't have to think of Songhai when you're making neutral minions. Now when you want to nerf something, it's okay to nerf it to 3 attack from 4 without having to worry about Songhai. We don't need to remove these things from Songhai. That's part of them. That's part of their identity. They've always had Inner Focus. It was really dumb at 0 mana, but if we exactly, none of that nonsense. Just contain it to the faction, balance the faction around it, and you're good. When Rush is contained to a faction and the faction is balanced around it, that's fine. That doesn't limit design space, that's fine. So we're not nerfing it at all. we're just opening design space. So Jux, Mist Dragon, Backstab in general. So this is a pretty big point. So here's basically, I want to make positioning matter, but make Songhai stronger. And this is a big part. We're not even, we'll get to spells soon, but this should really, really push Songhai into powerful but awesome, rather than just, well, who cares if you have a board? We're going to ignore it. So make Juxposition have a range limit of 3. But minions you trade with it get +1/+1 attacks. And now you can potentially buff 2 minions out of it with a 0 mana spell, and you still have the positional factor. If you're smart, if you play well, if everything goes well, it's a stronger spell than before. It's no longer just sort of brainless, unconditional, unlimited range nonsense. And same with Mist Dragon. We're going to go ahead and buff Mist Dragon to costing 0, which, 0 cost is notoriously powerful, but limited to the same range as Kalios. Now it's actually really strong and healthy. Doing changes like that and, can make the faction stronger in a skilled player's hands, but no longer unhealthy. And then Mass Flight, it's no longer flight. It's just extra movement and ignoring provoke. Similar use, but no longer just you get to ignore the board. You get to reposition and ignore provokes. It's super flavorful, it's classic, ninja vanish. And now, because we've just drastically changed a core concept there, and that's going to make backstabbing just harder in general, we just give backstab minions across the board +1 backstab. Now just everything about position-focused Songhai is just way stronger, but now actually healthy. So now moving on to the spell side of Songhai. We've already actually addressed a big portion of their problem in the neutral pool. By hitting Abjugator and Rakdopa, 8 Gates and Mantra have already been toned down. But there are still quite a few other things that need some addressing. So, Crescent Spear, this is sort of knee-jerk. I just think the card's a little bit ridiculous. Let's bump it up a mana cost. Right, no, I don't want to hit Flame Wreath. Flame Wreath is awesome. Flame Wreath really rewards positional gameplay and that kind of stuff. Flame Wreath is cool. Kalios is the stuff I love about the game. Alright, so, Crescent Spear, just a small nerf. I think it's a little silly. Especially with, as we're going to get to here in a minute here, we're making their spells scarier. So Blood Rage Mask. So same treatment as Sunriser got. Same treatment that Sunriser and Decimus got. We're removing its high. We're giving a stronger base, but removing its high roll abuse. So put it back to 1 mana, but make it work on only the first time a spell is cast each turn, but it deals 2 damage now. Now it's a pretty scary card. 1 mana. Yeah, no, the Spirit one is just too much. But, Blood Rage, let's put Blood Rage at 1 and make it deal more damage, but only once a turn. Still scary, still lets you play Spell High, still lets you play spell-focused lists. You just, no more high roll. You get to play, 2 spells from Shidai and, a bunch of 0-level spells and just be able to get, 10 damage out of a 2 mana card. That should not be happening. Given, plenty of times Blood Rage Mask does nothing. But, that's the problem. We want it to be good, but not high rolling. So, Bangle. This is a bit of a shame, because Bangle's really cool. Unfortunately, Bangle has also led to, 8 Gates, Mantra, and Bangle have led to the most unhealthy decks Duelist has ever seen. So, it needs, as much as the celerity is really cool, it just needs to go. So I think, let's cement Songhai as the high mobility faction. Make them hard to catch, make them, positional focus. So, my thought here, put it to 2 mana, which is pretty scary, and, your general can move 3 spaces, 3 extra spaces now. That's even more movement than you had with Celerity. It's a cheaper item. It's a cheap, high mobility, scary item, but no more your opponent left their back open 1 turn in the game and you win. No more high rolling into the perfect combination of artifacts and just being a problem. It's a little bit of a shame because I know that's sort of a crippling blow to artifact Songhai. Unbounded Amulet. Let me look at that. I've never seen it played. It's been a while. I need to look at it since it's been a bit. Right, again, this is still early on. I still plan to work on this for another week here. And try to make sure I'm covering everything that needs issues. Alright, so let's see. Unbounded End. Your general gains +1 attack and may move an additional space. Oh. Oh, you're right. Okay. I am just making sort of a better energy amulet, aren't I? Oh, I mean, Lionize is fine. Strong, but at 5 mana, and the positional requirement is fine. Lionize is a fairly well-designed card for the most part. Alright, Energy Amulet. Energy Amulet's just weak. I don't... changes to Energy Amulet. It's... Okay, yeah, it's basically a worse version of the new Bengal now. I don't know. I think it's probably fine. Just, if you really want to run it and Bengal, you can now. You really just want maximum mobility. I don't think it really needs to change. It's just Bengal is the better card, but if you really want to run both, you can. So I don't think that really needs a change. It is just a little bit weak overall, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, so Lantern Fox. So here's where we get to the biggest change that I'm doing for Songhai. I'm not touching Phoenix Fire. I'm leaving that. I'm not touching Phoenix Fire. I'm not touching Spiral. Those are fine. Those are core to their identity. They're not an issue. The problem is when you have so many different sources of burn and so many different ways to get Phoenix Fires that we turn into decks that you just play nothing but that and win, and there's nothing your opponent can do. It just comes down to, did you get a good hand or not? And that's a problem. So here's where I'm trying to nudge the faction, make them a lot stronger, but you can no longer just play nothing but burns. 8 gates is a problem. I think Cloudcaller is a perfectly balanced card. It's very strong, and Vanar's not doing amazing right now. I love Cloudcaller. And Cloudcaller and Geomancer are just sort of 2 sides of the same coin here, which we'll get to in a minute. All right, so this is the biggest thing I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to give them powerful removal, but not so much face damage. We're trying, 8 gates should not be a card that kills you from full. 8 gates should be a card that maybe you get a tiny bit of extra damage. I play Cloudcaller. Not as much as I used to, because Wanderers sort of pushed it out. Sunset Paragon has sort of replaced Paragon because of Wanderer, but if Wanderer went away, I would gladly be putting Cloudcallers back in. But so anyway, this is what I'm trying to do for Song. I'm trying to give them strong removal. Let's give them Fireballs. Same as Water Ball. 1 mana, 4 damage to a minion. Very powerful spell, but no more face damage. So, Lantern Fox gives you fireballs. Geomancer gives you fireballs. Phoenix Barrage gives you fireballs. I love Wisp. I can understand why people hate Wisp, but I love Wisp, and it's also the only thing holding Vanar together. Leave it alone. And I think he's a wonderful design. But it's alright. So, this is the biggest change to Songhai. Fireballs. No more face, but now Songhai actually has pretty good removal. It's doing a similar thing with Thunderbomb. Thunderbomb, I'm straight up buffing it. Like, it does 3 damage to a minion, and 2 damage to units around it. So now the AoE from Thunderbomb is much stronger, and the AoE can still hit generals, but you can no longer just go face with it. You want to damage the opposing general, you have to set it up for it. They have to play a minion next to them for them to get damage. So this is the type of things I'm trying to do for Songhai. I'm trying to make their cards stronger, but not just play 8 gates and burn and not play Duelist. So Cobra Strike, similar deal. You can still use it for face damage, just like Thunderbomb, but you have to, positioning matters now. There's a condition to it. But in the same vein, Cobra Strike can also now just be a better removal. So a simple change to it, it's deal 3 damage to an enemy minion and the closest opposing unit. With clever positioning, you can now still hit the general just fine. But now you also have the ability to clear 2 minions. But you can't just go face with it now either. And that's what we want for Songhai. We want them to be stronger. We want them to actually have to think and not just burn your face. So Twilight Fox. With Bengal gone, Fox won't be nearly as problematic. But the RNG, like I've done with every other RNG card in the game I can find, needs to be addressed. So a very simple fix to it is just make it, it's the same effect it has currently. It's still Blood Surge, but now it works on nearby units. No more, because Twilight Fox can still teleport generals, and that's a big deal. However, there is now counterplay for the general. If the general positions well, you will have a tough time using Twilight Fox on them. But if you are keeping their field clear, or you're positioning better to them, you can still teleport an enemy general. You just have to be smart. It is now not only can you control what you are teleporting, but there's also, unit means minion or general. I realize that is not consistent with the game currently. Again, remember, this is just rough draft notes for myself. This is not something I was ready to post or share yet. You guys just wanted to see it, so I'm sharing it. Unit means minion or general. It just makes more sense to me to say that. Something should say unit for both of these, or it should say minion or general. It's just, okay, enemy. Those are the type of things I do need to change before I get around to posting it. But so enemy. It is now, it's no longer RNG. There's very little RNG. There still could be RNG, if there's a couple things right next to each other and you just stick it in the middle of them. But it is controllable now. There is both. You can not only control it, but there's also counterplay for your opponent. And that's what we want for Duelist in general. We want positioning and counterplay. That's what we want. So, Geomancer, same deal as Lantern Fox. Fireballs, fireballs, fireballs. Fireballs are pretty dang scary, but they're no longer just go face. Phoenix Barrage. I let them keep the first half of it, fine. If you want to spend 5 mana to do 3 damage to the enemy general, fine. But you don't get to do it twice. You now get a Fireball, which is probably now a stronger spell. Probably a stronger spell in general, but again, no more just burn, 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 burn to the face. So, Knuckle Storm. Ultimately, if you want to play a burn deck, you should be allowed to. But if you're playing a burn deck, it should be more like Fae. It should be slower chip damage, letting healing actually be a counterplay. But, overall, I think Fae is generally a healthy example of burn. Yes, it is largely uncountable face damage, but there's not much of it. She's the only source. I don't want to do that because I'm trying to make that, that was an intentional choice on Duelist Design. So we had the Tempest Fellow in Lionar. That is the onboard one. We have the Vanar Cloudcaller, which is just for one turn, and we have Songhais, which is always. They're similar, but they're intentionally different, and I didn't see that as my place to change. The only part I saw that needed to be changed was we needed this not to be Phoenix Fire. We needed it to be stronger, but if you want fireballs for eternity, that means you will you give up your Bloodborne spell, and you'll never be able to do damage to the enemy general with the fireballs. And that's what was important to me. That was an intentional choice on their design, and so be it. That's how they want to do it. So, all right. So back to Knuckle Storm. So now we're just down to Phoenix Fire, Phoenix Barrage, and Knuckle Storm. Oh, and Spiral Technique. These are the only 4 things that can actually just go face without a condition now. Again, we want Geomancer to be strong. We don't want Songhai to be weak. We want them to be strong. We just want them to be healthy. So I'm not trying to nerf it. I'm trying to make it a stronger card, just no longer Brainless Face. So now we only have, 5 sources of burn, but most of them are slower now. So my thought for Knuckle Storm, pump it to 3 mana, have it do 2 damage with Intensify now. So if you play 2 Knuckle Storms is 6 mana. It's the same as 3 Phoenix Fires for the same amount of cost for 1 less card, and then the 3rd Knuckle Storm will be terrifying. It's about on par with Phoenix Fire. Well, no, it's slightly weaker. I did nerf Spear. Spear got bumped to 2 mana. It's one of the very few actual just nerfs. Most of the things I did to Songhai were generally buffs but there's less burn to face. So, basically, so Knuckle Storm is slightly weaker than Phoenix Fire unless you build around it, and then it's actually scary. But Knuckle Storm is, if you really just want to run Knuckle Storm for burn redundancy, if you just want your deck to be Phoenix Fire, Knuckle Storm, Phoenix Barrage, and Spiral, fine, you're allowed to do that. It still works with 8 gates and Spear, fine. But it's no longer these cheap, massive, kill you from full burst, and these are the only sources of it. If you want to play a burn deck, you're allowed to. That is what Songhai is. That is part of their identity. We just need to make it healthy. We need to make it, not high rolling. We need to make it strong, but consistent, and not like the only thing they're doing. So, Zendo. All Grandmasters are 7 mana or more. I don't know why he's an exception. Let's have some consistency here. Let's bump him to 7. Let's make him appropriately strong. Give him a stat buff, up from his original status from, 4/6 to 5/7 to make up the stat buff. And now let's get rid of the unhealthy effect of him. So keep in mind, Battle Pet AI has been cleaned up, so there's actually no RNG with Zendo anymore. And if it's just an opening gambit, he's a terrifying card now that has immediate impact, but no more just making you what you're doing, making you skip your general's turns, making your positioning irrelevant. He's now a powerful card, but he's slower, and he no longer makes what you're doing irrelevant. It's a very simple change to make him a scary card, but now a healthier one. And between him and Fox, or him and Twilight, playing backstab against wall huggers does still work. And of course, I haven't removed, Songhai's range. I haven't touched anything ranged in Songhai. You still have Cyclone Mask. You still have all of your other range sources. So, like, wall huggers can be punished by that, and can be punished by Zendo and Twilight. And this is fun. We want this to be a strong archetype. No, we don't. We don't want constant battle pet. The problem with Zendo is him making you skip your turns, him taking control away from you. That's what makes him so frustrating. In an opening gambit that repositions you slightly, strong, but isn't this frustrating, making you skip turns and not get to do what you're doing. It still works as a I'm trying to make Songhai strong, but no longer unhealthy. Alright, so Gates Mantra, no changes. Abjugator's gone, Rockdope is gone, Sheet Eyes changed, half of their burn sources don't go face anymore. I did change Battle Pet AI. That was one of the first things I went over early on. Well, I thought about the end of turn, but that would just make Zendo too easy to remove. Like, he'd turn into one of those mini things that just eat removal and do nothing, and we don't want that. And also, that still doesn't remove the frustrating part of it stuns your general. Like, stunning is Vanar's thing. Leave it there. We want Zendo to be strong. We don't want him to just be obnoxious and gets answered and does nothing. Alright, back to Abjugator's gone, Rockdope is gone, Sheet Eyes changed, most of their burn sources are changed. Gates and Mantra themselves weren't the problems. I still dislike them on principle, but they weren't what was causing the abuse. So no actual changes for them. And that's what I want to see from Song. I want them to be strong. I want them to be top tier and terrifying, but I want them to be smart and positionally focused and be just healthy and awesome. Alright, so Vitruvian. Not a lot of changes for Vitruvian, but the changes here are pretty important. So Ka, as we talked about earlier, again, down to 4 mana, 5 mana slots too crowded. With 2 attack, he's on par with other dervishes, no longer just auto-kills Vath and remove flying. He's now a scary unit, but positioning matters, and he's not cluttering the 5 mana slot anymore. He's theoretically stronger than before if you're smart, but he's no longer this polarizing meta-warping monster that's removing Vath from the meta. I personally never have had an issue. I've personally never had an issue with Rayfault, but it is pretty strong. 0 mana minions are historically problematic, so I don't think it's super necessary, especially if Ka's been dealt with. But since Ka is still very good, if Ka isn't just nerfed to unplayability, Rayfault should probably be addressed as well. So let's make Ray just actually a good unit, and no more Fault Abuse. 3/1, spell the closest to any unit space. You can even hit tiles if they're standing on it, hit generals. It's just actually a good unit now. But no more Fault Abuse. Now here's the big change for Vitruvian. So as I have done with every other RNG source in the game, we have tried to remove the majority of the RNG factor. This is the biggest change for Vitruvian. This isn't necessary for balance. Obelisks as they stand are balanced. But balance and healthy are not the same thing. And if we can have both, we should have both. So the big thing is, they don't summon it randomly, they summon it as close to an enemy as possible. This makes them consistent, this makes... Oh no! Oh, this would not kill them at all. This lets you position them on the back line, out of reach of all melee, and they now actually work from the back line. I would love this. They would be scary because now you can position them very defensively, and they still work. They still work well. But in trade, for the fact that they can be positioned in almost unreachable areas, they do need to be killable now. They do need, if you do get to them, you need to be able to kill them. You need to be able to kill them with Phoenix Fires. You need to be able to kill them with Cryos. You need to be able to actually kill them. But, you know, this lets Vitruvian play this cool zoning... Oh, yep. Good point. I will add that in. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, ultimately, it's not a necessary thing, because they are balanced as they stand. The RNG on them is bearable and manipulatable, but it could be better. I still just dislike, you know, a lot of my matchups against or as obelisks do come down to a coin flip of the spawns. Both I as the player and the opponent can do a lot of manipulating that and playing around it, but unfortunately when it really comes down to it, when you have two really skilled players playing against each other and somebody's playing obelisks, it usually comes down to a coin flip, and that's not a good thing. So we want to make them consistent and scary, but in trade make them actually, you know, killable. They're no longer these fat tanks that you just throw down, given still position is incredibly important with them. I'm not trying to detract them. I'm just saying this removes the RNG aspect, but keeps them scary, but also keeps them balanced. They're now easily killable. Xerix could have a targeted Bloodborne spell. Alright, yeah, probably. No, RNG is a problem. I'd rather him be consistent and we tone down Dervish synergy than the other way around. So, yeah. Although if they are targeted, they may need to be like 2-1s. So, you know, that'll be something to think about. You know, the RNGs should be addressed. They might be fine as targeted. They might not be, but I would rather see... I actually already have Lilith getting that. That's already on my list. We'll be getting to Abyssian soon. So Obelisk, we're trying to make them no more RNG at all, but in trade they are killable. If your opponent gets behind enemy lines, he can destroy them. Removal, particularly, you know, damage-based removal, does actually work on them now. They are strong, they are a powerful zone control tool with no more RNG. Positioning is still important. Is it necessary? No. Are they balanced? Yes. Are they healthy? Unfortunately, not really. And so I would like to see this, along with pretty much all sources of RNG in the game, be addressed. A couple things here and there are fine. You know, stuff like Sirocco summoning, you know, stuff that summons a dozen minions in random places on the board, or like Sarlacc, you know, that's fine. That's harmless. That saves time. But something like this, there's no reason for this to come down to a coin flip. So let's make them actually killable, but no more RNG. I have a funny feeling this would actually make them stronger than before, because if you're not packing good ranged removal or stuff like again, Magmar's still going to be really hard on this, because they're still going to die to Plasma Storm. Now they're actually vulnerable to Macantor and Lava Slasher. Magmar's still going to be hard on them, but you can now actually position them out of range of even Slasher, and you can make sure Macantor is only going to hit a single Obelisk. So I think it would just overall make them strong and healthy. And then also, let's put Nose back to 5 mana. There was no reason to nerf it. It's pretty straightforward. Alright, so Abyss. My beloved Abyss. We've been struggling for a while. We have a few good things going for us, but they do need some love here. So the biggest thing here is, no other faction had their staple cards nerfed. No other faction. Either we're nerfing all of the staples, either we're hitting Macantor, Holy, Aymara, Phoenix Fire, all of them or none of them. And I would much rather it be none of them. Duelist is supposed to be about cool faction staple power cards. It's supposed to be about that. That's how the game is designed. Can we stop nerfing the weakest faction's staples, please? So, put Revenant back to 7 mana, a Desolator back to 3/1. Sphere of Darkness probably should be 2 mana, but can we please give it back its original effect? Jesus. It does need to be 2 mana because of Tormentor now. Yeah, that's fine. And it was a little strong at 1 mana, but removing its ability to target tiles, that was crippling and unwarranted. Also, let's put Varix back to 7 mana. Back in the day, Varix at 7 was too much. But nowadays, with Fault, with Winter's Wake and Walls, with the Finality, Grandmaster Varix is not that scary of a late game anymore. Can we please put her on par with the other late game things? And also, before we bring it up, no more high roll. No more turn 2 Varixes. Darkfire Sacrifice is getting the same treatment as Splash. You can no longer, not going to nerf the card, but we're going to remove its ability to high roll to just, play 2 of them and get it like a turn 2 Varix. Put Varix back to 7 mana and change. Again, that's 8 mana though. We are talking an 8 mana 2-card combo. Every faction does this. Spiral does it with 1 card. That's about on par with Spirit of the Wild and Ghost Seraphim. Every faction has, that's happening at the same time as Finality. At 8 mana as a 2-card combo, I think that's fine. But at 1 mana, yeah, that would not be fine. But at 8 mana, basically, well, it is single target though. It's obliterate but single target. And, creep has not been great for a long time. And so that is why I left it at 2 mana, I didn't put it back to 1, but anything that's happening at 8 mana tends to be fine. So Ooze, no more overriding his own creep tiles. Shadow Nova to 3 mana because it should be a good card, but it's super awkward as it is. Munch, small change. Won't often be relevant, but I think it should be able to target friendly units. I think, you should be able to eat your own stuff. It's a very Abyssian flavored thing, sacrificing your own units. Right. So, if Sphere of Darkness and Tormentor ended up being too much, yeah, maybe it would need to be addressed. Maybe Tormentor would need to go to 7 mana or something along those lines. But, I think Creep has not been doing great for a long time, and these aren't changes that should really push it over the top. These are changes that should make it good, but not over the top. They're small, but not big. And, maybe I am overshooting because, I'm an Abyssian main. I want to see them strong. And, maybe I'm a little biased here. And I'm pushing them too far. But, I'd rather start strong and go down if need be. I think I'm doing a good job here. I'm perfectly open to, constructive criticism. I'm still not ready to post this, or this is still just a very rough draft. These are just me collecting my thoughts and getting ready for a good form post soon, probably around the end of the week. But so that's that's just a couple small quality of life things. Give Abyss back their staples and give Creep just a couple tiny cookies. Shadow Nova to 3 mana, that'll make it pretty decent, because as it stands, it's pretty underwhelming. Munch targeting any minion. Sphere of Darkness back to actually being good. Just a couple small things that should push them from low tier to at least highly competitive. So again, Lilith, just like Xerix, just like every other source of RNG, no more. Okay, but now on to some of the big changes for Abyss. As I talked about with Titan, as I talked about with Burn, and other things like that, anything that causes a polarized matchup is not really healthy for the game. Swarm shouldn't just be about play everything you can, pray your board doesn't get wiped, and then win in the first couple turns. That is just not a healthy design. So we want to cut back on that polarized, ridiculous burst aspect just a little bit and push them towards the direction they've been heading for a bit now. A little bit more mid-range with, Wraith Crown and Chakram and Furiosa. Be about building this unstoppable horde of minions, but not about just killing you out of nowhere because they high rolled or you didn't have AoE. So here's a big change to Swarm. So Grimoire's fine. If Crescendo doesn't exist and Grimoire's fine, to play around Grimoire. To be cautious of getting into Lilith's face if she has a big board. But when both of them exist, you're just in a lose-lose because you can't stay away from her and the minions. So we're taking Crescendo away. Grimoire's fine, but now Crescendo gets changed to an effect I've always wanted to see in Abyss. We've got tons of, we have Keeper of the Veil, we have Nether Summoning, we have tons of things that revive non-token minions. Let's do the opposite. Crescendo now revives all destroyed token minions. So now instead of just being able to kill your opponent with a bunch of Wraiths, if they don't get board wiped. Oh, okay, fair enough. I will make a note there. Yep. Okay, so this is the type of effect I've always wanted. I've always loved. Bloodtide Priestess is probably my favorite card in the game. Unfortunately, I haven't played it in ages because it's not very good. But I love the bring things back from the dead, raise your army of undead minions. That's what I love. I don't like these weird kamikaze exploding insta-kill stuff. So, I want to see more Bloodtide Priestess. I want to see more revive your entire field after it got nuked. I want to see less, we got 5 minions to stick, they don't have an AoE, we win. So, change Crescendo into that. awesome necromantic feeling that works only for tokens. Chain Soul Shatter Pact, if we've removed Crescendo and Soul Shatter Pact is no longer bursty, those two alone should push Swarm into the more mid-range area where it really belongs. Soul Shatter now costs 0, gives all friendly minions 1 attack. It's no longer bursty, but now it's great for Arcanist, it's great for Right, and it's still good in Swarm, but it's no longer I just win out of nowhere type deal. And just a small buff to Blood-Tide Priestess, my favorite unit in the game that's just been underwhelming for too long. Remember, Songhai has tons of ways to kill 4 health minions now, so it's not that big a deal. It should be a good card. It should be a strong card. It's a classic staple. I love it. I want to see it. I want to see it be a staple for Swarm. And at 4 health, with that stat line, it could be. Right now, Mentor's completely edged it out. Let's put it on par and similar with Mentor. Horror Burster, this might be too strong, but I definitely want to see the RNG aspect from it removed or at least toned down. So I think that would probably be fine. Keep in mind, technically, you could transform your opponent's unit as well. Finally give Abyss a transform, not one that you ever want to use, but I think that would make it a really good card. I think it would be fine. It might be a little bit much. That would work, but I frankly didn't like that change. That's really awkward. Having to worry about some bizarre sequencing issue like that, and Darkfire is always supposed to last until your next turn because it has a much heftier cost than Flash does. It's supposed to be a little bit different. I don't want it to be that way. I just don't want it to stack. I also think there's no reason you shouldn't be able to play a spell in between Flash and a minion. Just prevent them from stacking. Preventing them from stacking is fine. There's no reason to add a weird sequencing issue to that. I mean, that would work, yeah, but no, it's still Dying Wish. It's still Dying Wish. It's just no longer. It's just no longer random. It is now always the closest minion. So if you use it with Mauve and put a husk at a diagonal with something in horizontal or vertical, it will hit the horizontal or vertical and not the husk. Or if husk is the only thing around, it will get the husk. It's just no more RNG. Just make it actually controllable, which I think should be fine. I think it would make it a good card. It's terrible right now. It would now be a good card, but I don't think it would be over the top. So, Phantasm. Phantasm did lead to some of the more unhealthy decks in Abyss. It was definitely a problem. It did definitely deserve the nerf. But the way they nerfed it, I did not like at all. The problem with Phantasm is because it was rude to obelisks, it was rude to walls, it was rude to those kinds of things. But, ultimately, Phantasm was a card that could be played around and was fine. If we remove the polarizing aspect from where it just completely shuts down certain archetypes and just make the nerf from action bar, then it's probably fine. So I mean that's the change I wanted to see. Maybe 2-1. Maybe there's just an awful lot of ping. 2-1. Or I don't think both. Like, Phantasm went from a problem to unplayable, and we don't want that to be the case. We want it to be a good card, we just don't want it to be a problem. So, I think the simple fix is just from action bar. Straightforward. Similar with Skull Prophet. It's currently just, it never sees the light of day. Even if it gave the enemy general -2 attack. I mean, 3/1 is not a fair trade. It could have 0 attack. It wouldn't matter. How about that? How about that? How about there? Is that better? There. That's better. No longer just dies to every ping ever, but is now a minion you gotta babysit. You can't just go face with it. And, we've removed the problematic aspect by making it action bar. So, right. And back to Skull Prophet. So, again, yes, +2, but it's from the action bar. It no longer, Bloodborne spells no longer proc it. Obelisks no longer proc it. Walls no longer proc it. Like, most of the things that made Phantasm scary no longer proc it. Now it is just, it's probably never going to get more than, 1 proc out of it. And, that's as it should be. Again, we don't want it to be unplayable. We want it to be good, but if it has 1 health, it's garbage. It'll just die to everything. But all right, anyway, back to Skull Prophet. So, as it stands, completely useless unit, never sees play. Even with this effect, it's still not great. But now it's scary because a general having right. I mean, I don't see the problem with that. There are plenty of high value 2-drops, and this is just one of them. I just, again, it went from overpowered to unplayable. You gotta hit a middle ground. The action bar clause is a pretty big deal. Like, if you do more than that, it'll probably just continue to never be used like it is. Like, the whole thing about nerfs and buffs is they should be as small as possible. The smaller the nerf, the better. The smaller the buff, the better. Incremental changes. If it needs more, then you can do more later. So, perhaps it could be a problem again, but I doubt it. I think it would be fine with 2 health and action bar clause. Back to Skull Prophet, if I can ever finish with this fellow. So even now, it still probably wouldn't be great. But it's now scary enough, because a general having 0 attack could be a nightmare. So it's now scary enough to at least make your opponent think about it. Will its effect ever go off? Probably not, because the attack sentinels are the easiest to play around. But now its existence at least forces people to be scared of it. Now it forces them to, I can't risk attacking until I know what sentinel it is. But not attacking is not a hard thing to do. Unless you're Vath, and Vath laughs at that -2 attack, so he's fine either way. So, small buff, still probably not going to see play, but now it's good enough to at least make your opponent worry about it. So, Night Shroud, another small change with him. Summoned this turn, as in, so sequencing no longer matters. If you summon him first and then summon Arcanist, it works. The other way around, it works. No more RNG off of Death Now. No, he's actually just scary and consistent with Death Now. Just a small change, removes the RNG from him. He goes from bad to might actually be good now. Similar with Hexclaw, similar with Doom. Cards that are just small change, might actually be good now, but still shouldn't be problems. And that's the end of Abyss. We've given them back their staples, we've given them some small quality of life changes, and we've removed their polarizing aspects. On to Magmar. I'm not quite done with Magmar. We're reaching the end of my list where I'm still not quite done with, but the big thing here is, so Starhorn has been addressed because Decimus got, well, no, he'd still work just fine with Illusionist. The whole point, I may be wording it wrong, but the whole point of the change I'm trying to make is, regardless of when summoned, the damage will happen before or after. It's just anytime an Arcanist is summoned this turn, whether it is before or after him, works now. He still works fine with Illusion Swarm. He's just better in every way. It's just, we've removed the sequencing. You don't need to play him after Arcana Snap. He can be played before or after, it doesn't matter. It's not an actual direct buff, we've just removed the sequencing, which also fixes his problem with Death Knell. I don't know how to word it, I'm apparently doing a poor job, but that's right. Alright, so on to Magmar. So, Ragnar is just a little overtuned. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, well, that can be, right, so, and for every Arcanist. Yeah, so, okay, no, you're right, this is a little bit more complicated than I thought. Because it buffs him with, I can't just say and, because then he could double dip. Yeah, okay, you're right there. How do I word this? I'm trying to make him work. Yeah, okay, I'm not trying to nerf him, I'm just trying to remove. Okay, let's see. Okay, so summoned this turn. For each Arcanist that was on the board. There we go. So, if an Arcanist has been on the board, it counts for Night Shroud now. Whether it has died, or it was summoned before or after him, it's not even about summons now. It's just the game will track this turn how many Arcanists have been on the board. Yeah, so the game just tracks how many Arcanists have been on the board this turn. Dead or alive, current, before or after, none of it matters now. It's just, if there's a ton of illusions, it works. If they're summoned after him, it works. It works with Death Knell, it works. There we go. Okay, yeah, okay, I got you. Works fine. It's not about summons, it's not about numbers, it's just about end of turn? I don't think that would be simpler, though, because it would remove your ability to trade face if you have to, and it still has to track the same either way. No, I think it's just it's not all at once now. Yeah, end of turn. Yeah, okay. I want him to be, when you summon him, like, you basically, you get a temporary buff this turn that just works. I just can't figure out how to word it. It's a weird card. Alright, moving on from that, I'll look at it some more later. But I see your point, and I'm trying to fix both aspects of that. Alright, so on to Magmar. So we've already addressed Starhorn by fixing Decimus. So Starhorn is fine now with Decimus fixed. We're trying to push eggs into survivability, not burst, and then we do also hit Vath ever so slightly. So Ragnar is just a little overtuned in general now. Rippers could probably go down to 2/1s. I'm not 100% sure on that, because with the other broad overarching changes, the Rippers may not be as bad now. But, Ragnar has been pretty overtuned for a while, so Rippers should probably just take a small hit. But more importantly, we're removing his ability to just kill you out of hand. Instead of Eggmorph and Inceptor hatching things now, instead we just make the eggs nigh unkillable short of removal. Now we have high survivability. Well, I like the combo aspect. Like, the combo on Rippers is cool, but the problem is when they're happening out of hand. That's the issue. I think Celerity on Rippers is fine. Again, especially with all the other broad overarching changes we're doing, we don't want to make them weak. We still want them to be good. There's nothing wrong with combo decks as long as combo decks have there's nothing inherently wrong with combo decks as long as there's counterplay. Combo with counterplay is cool. Combo without counterplay is not cool. So, like, Celerity on Rippers is fine as long as they can't kill you out of hand now. Like, there's no longer a way to just hatch them and make them kill you. Not only have they been toned down slightly, there's no way to kill them out of hand. Well, he's saying 3/3 Rippers without Celerity. He's saying 3/3 Rippers without Celerity. I think they should keep their Celerity, but I'm putting the focus on you can't just kill people out of hand anymore. You can still do cool combos, but no longer just out of hand. So that the big thing is Eggmorph and Inceptor no longer hatch eggs. They just give them a massive, massive health burst. Health buff. That way they're just really hard to kill. So eggs are no longer about let's just throw exploding babies at people. It's now about eggs. Egg and rebirth means things are really hard to kill and put down. That's what it should be about. So no more hatches. Instead, eggs. You have these cards that make eggs super tanky. We buff Dreadnought all around, but Dreadnought is not, the effect isn't on the minion. He's now an opening gambit that can be dispelled. So between Morph and Scepter, Dreadnought being a buff on your general, and of course the notorious charm that exists now, eggs are now strong and hard to kill. They no longer just kill you out of nowhere either. You can still dispel them, you can still remove them. There's no more, well, if they were fine, then Rippers wouldn't be a problem. But they are. And again, eggs shouldn't be about throwing exploding babies at people given it's still one of the healthier combos around because, it's board focused, good positioning and provokes do counter it, but if Magmar wants to play Rush, they can play Rush. That's not why you should be playing eggs. If you're playing eggs, it's because you want to make your should be about the cycle of rebirth, and they should be hard to kill, and the out of hand bursts are the problem. So that's where we need to target. No, if you remove Celerity, then the Rippers are just bad. Like, now we no longer have cool, awesome combos. They're just bad. Like, Greater Fortitude will go back to just never seeing the light of day. Like, the Celerity's fine. And, putting them to 3/3 without Celerity, they would just be bad. Like, that... We're trying to make things strong, but healthy. you don't want to just nerf things. Like, my goal here isn't to nerf things, it's to make things healthy. We want them to still be strong. We want them to still be cool. But without celerity, Rippers are just bad. And the problem is when they just kill you out of hand, especially mixed with, Magmar's excellent removal package. What do you mean? You always have the option of Lightbender, EMP, and Shroud. And Vitruvian tends to run EMP, and most decks can find room for Lightbender because it's a good card. That's your fault if you don't have Dispel, not theirs. So again, I want Rippers to be good. I like combos. The combos are cool. The problem is when there's out of hand mixed with Magmar's ability to clear your field, makes the counterplay difficult. If they don't just kill you from out of hand, if Magmar wants to kill you from out of hand, they have Rush minions to do that. Egg shouldn't be about killing you from out of hand. That should be a whole different archetype. Like, you've got Rush, which I'd be fine with getting more support. You've got Eggs, and you've got Control. Those are the things, So I want Rippers to be strong. I don't want them to lose their identity. I just want them to be healthy. And the out-of-hand combos is what's pushing them over the top. So instead of out-of-hand combos, now we have Eggs as hard to kill, the hardest to kill units. And I think that's how it should be. Instead of hatching, we now have the previous hatch cards now give them massive health buffs. Dreadnought's actually just really dang good now. And then, of course, there's still Charm in the mix. Go ahead and buff Slitherer up, because there's no reason for it to be as weak as it is. Go ahead and revert the Slitherer Elder change. And so there you go. Oh, right. So because we've made Eggs this so much harder to kill now, Morin-Kur needs another nip in the bud just to make sure it never turns into an issue, because we don't want to see a whole bunch of impossible to kill Eggs and then just get Morin-Kur. If Morin-Kur is not happening before 7-8 mana, that's fine. So Morin-Kur got nerfed again proactively to make sure this doesn't happen. So, now Eggs are about maintaining a board of hard-to-kill things, harder to kill than anything else, and if you can keep a hold of them, they will either overwhelm your opponent, or you can... Well, you got to keep in mind, with the changes to this, Eggs are going to be really hard to kill. Like, we have Charm, we have Dreadnought, we have just Egg minions in general being stronger. If Morin-Kur stayed at 6 mana with unkillable Eggs, yeah, I thought about giving it more attack as well. That would be fine. I did actually think about that. I'm trying to make sure we don't cause just a whole new problem with Magmar if they're just having completely unkillable Eggs and late game combos. I was trying to make sure I didn't just cause a new problem with this change. I'm trying to shift it into hard to kill, and if you don't manage to kill them, you will get overwhelmed or late game will happen. So, yeah, small nerf to Rippers in general, just because Ragnar's been a little bit over the top. No more out-of-hand combos, and a whole bunch of quality of life just to make Eggs really hard to kill now rather than bursty. And I think that's where they should be. That would remove the salt that's been going on with Ragnaros, because while Ragnaros has the healthiest example of, one-turn kill combos, the counterplay is still not as much as it could be. Burn and Desi Spikes are disgusting because there's very little you can do, but there is quite a bit you can do about Ripper combos. So they were still a largely healthy example. Keep in mind the other thing to think about is when eggs are hard to kill, you don't need as much mana in one turn. You can now buff, you can now protect them one turn and then do the buffs when they hatch. So, that's why I'm being very cautious and, nerfing Morincur proactively, because the fact that you don't have to do your combos in one turn now gives your opponent an opportunity to answer, yes, but we don't want things to be so hard to answer that you can now just do combos with less mana than before. So that's what I was trying to avoid, why I'm nerfing Morincur just right away, because, right now it's just bad because, Morphin and Scepter are strictly better, but with these changes, you have to keep in mind eggs are going to be a lot stickier now, meaning if you can do hatch combos, you could have some other problems. Chrysalis Burst, this is the change that I always thought it should get. No more RNG, just a decent, cheap card. Instead, back in the day when it was actually surprisingly a bit of a meta card for a brief period of time, they were like, nope, that's way too swingy. Let's just nerf it to unplayability. But they didn't. That could also work. Although the healing on that concerns me. Having a 6 mana heal 6 and develop 3 things, that seems a bit much. Again, we're trying to give the eggs an early game. We're trying to let you start developing eggs early on, get them to survive, overwhelm, then combo. So we're not the late game is supposed to be Morincur and Extinction Event. I'm not exchanging Extinction Event at all. Extinction Event is getting sideways massive buffs with this. Like, with eggs being this much harder to kill, Extinction Event becomes that much scary. Right, Chrysalis Burst, when... I'm pretty sure it can summon non-core dudes. I haven't used it in so long, I don't remember. But Chrysalis Burst was briefly meta, and then instead of making it healthy, they just nerfed it into unplayability. So let's give it the change it always should have had. Let you develop strong, consistent, you pick their position eggs early on. That's what it should have been. That's what I wanted to see it back to. So, I'm pushing them into, either playing sort of a swarmy, overwhelm you with hard-to-kill minions. Like, eggs are now not just kill you out of hand. They are either, play the cool, Slithar line. Play your big rebirth, hard-to-kill dudes, or try to make a lot of eggs and get them to survive a long time so you can make it to Extinction Event. And, that's why Extinction Event is becoming a big deal rather than sort of a weird add-on that's not quite as good as Morphin Scepter, but is still a lot of fun. But, Extinction Event is getting a lot of sideways bursts. But again, when things are happening at 8 mana, just about anything that happens at 8 mana is fine, as long as there's some modicum of counterplay. And that's what this is all about. This is making eggs have lots of counterplay, but still making them be very, very strong. Again, just removing the RNG on an unstable Leviathan. You have to be clever with its positioning to keep it from just shooting the thing you played it next to. It now goes from a crapshoot to it might actually be a good card because you can aim it, but you have to be careful with how you aim it. Just no more RNG. It's actually a cool card. Small buff to the Grow engine here. So in Dura Beastland, just adding another line of minions, not on Primal Flourish Grow. Another way to just make Grow actually instant. And then, small buff to Verdant Fulmination, just a couple small buffs to an under-supported archetype, giving it some love, hopefully making it good now. One more way to grow your minions, and one cheap way, and buffing the other slightly cheap way, and these couple small changes may just finally make grow a good deck. Eternal Heart card has never seen the light of day outside of like a bizarre Desi Spikes dedicated queue list I played that worked on several glitchy abuses. Oh boy, that was a good time. That crashed the game a couple times on us. Just small buff, make it actually a little bit more eternal. It just fixes itself. Still just dies to multiple pings or artifact removal, but might actually be playable now. So, Drogon to 5 mana. It's small. It's not much, because I think Vath is generally in a good spot right now. And as long as Khanum Ka gets addressed, I still don't think Prog is that amazing. I still think, he's a decent card, but he's very... Repair 1, it's still going to be unplayable. Still going to be just unplayable. Even repairing itself to full... okay, yeah, every artifact. Okay, yeah, I like that, giving them some actual artifact support. But I also don't want to just copy... I don't want to just copy... Obdurator. I sort of wanted to make it its own thing, but yeah, I suppose giving them some direct artifact support wouldn't hurt. That's not bad, but we don't want it to be Obdurator, and we don't want it to be we want it to be different from Donzai and Obdurator. I think just fixing itself as a standalone card is the way to go about it. It's just a thought, it's not a big deal either way. It's still probably not going to see play. Just trying to throw a little love to something that never sees any play. Let's see. All right, so Drogon to 5 mana. So again, I think Vath's in a pretty decent spot right now. He's not too strong. He has lots of counterplay. He's consistently good, and as long as Khanum Ka gets addressed, Vath can return. But with these broad overarching changes, a lot of the power decks have been addressed. We don't want Vath to just become tier 1 again because he managed to escape nerfs and changes while everyone else changed. That's how Magmar, the core Magmar package got so strong. It's not that they got buffed or changed or anything like that. It's just they went unchanged for so long, they just slowly grew in strength while they stayed the same while everything else got weaker. So this is just another small proactive change. It won't actually change how it works with 8 mana finalities. It's still, 8 mana finality curves into 6, 5 mana Drogon Bloodborne spell just fine. But it does prevent you from going from 7 mana finality with Abjugator into the Drogon. And it also just dials back on, those early, flash Drogon crypto plays. It's just a small change to Vath. The only thing, I'm not touching Magmar's control kit at all. I'm not adjusting anything else that makes Vath great. I'm still leaving him with all of his raw power, but just a small change that will prevent, those early high rolls, and just to make sure he doesn't just suddenly rise to the top because everything else fell. Just a small, proactive, little change. And then, again, Hate Furnace, let's meet in the middle here. At 5, it was too fast. At 7, it's terrible. No, we still want it to be strong. As I keep saying here, we're trying not to nerf things for the most part. We're trying to make things healthy. We still want there to be combos. We still want there to be powerful cards and good decks. We don't want to nerf things. We want to make them healthy. And have counterplay. Drogon has tons of counterplay. as much as people like to hate on Vath, I think he's just a perfect example of a healthy deck. Strong, consistent, well-rounded, position, 100% about the board, and has tons of counterplay. So, we still want it to be good. We just want to prevent those really early high rolls or those ramped finalities into Drogons. But all right, so back to Hate Furnace again. We just Counterplay Games has been in this bizarre habit for a while now of let's not do small healthy adjustments. Let's either make something completely broken or unplayable. Let's just go the middle ground here. At 5, it was too much. At 7, it's not enough. 6 is just the obvious solution. If it turns out to be too much, then maybe we remove Frenzy. But let's just put it right there in the middle where it should have been in the first place. The smaller the nerf or a buff, the better. When you go big direction either way, it causes problems. So let's put it in the middle where it belongs, and it'll probably be good. Maybe it'll be too good, but I doubt it. Vanar I haven't gotten around to as much. They also don't need a lot of changes. Basically, if everybody else gets changed, they're probably fine. Let's fix Frigid Corona, fix Oak, Vanar's probably fine. Vanar's struggling a little bit now, but they're not as bad off as people like to make it out. I still have great success with Vanar and have a lot of fun with it. And I think they're overall a very well-designed and generally healthy faction. Sure, there are some things in them that people like to hate on, but they all have counterplay and tend to be position-focused. And, I just like Vanar right now. I think they're in a halfway decent spot. And, if everything else gets dealt with, they'll be fine. But, again, this is still a rough draft. I still probably just need to go over Vanar a little bit more, which I just haven't yet because we're just at the bottom of the list. But I don't think they're really going to need much. We've seen what makes them problematic before, so we don't really want to give them back their prime abilities. We certainly don't need any nerfs. But overall, they're doing all right. If the other problems get addressed, they will just naturally bubble up a bit. So, that's my balance patch that I'm still definitely not. Factions are supposed to have strong staple cards that help define the faction and or define archetypes. Every faction has them. Everyone should have them. Nerfs in general are not a good thing. The only time things should be nerfed are when they are beyond oppressive. When something is warping the meta. There you guys go again. Magmar is good, but not a problem. Ragnar's over the top, Desi Spikes is unhealthy, and Drogon at 4 mana can occasionally lead to a high roll. The rest of Magmar is a perfect example of what a healthy, balanced faction should be. Strong, consistent, has lots of counterplay, and is 100% based on the board. That's what you're shooting for. We're not trying to nerf things. Remember, a lot of the other factions here are getting buffs. We don't want to just willy-nilly nerf things just because they're good. Things are supposed to be good. Factions are supposed to have good cards and staples. Nerfs are generally not a good thing. The only time nerfs should happen is when something is unhealthy. And unhealthy rarely has to do with power level. Unhealthy has to do with, RNG, polarized matchups, and those types of issues. Generally you want to buff things that are weaker than you do want to buff things that are stronger. Nerfs just cause a never-ending cycle. You nerf something good, next best thing replaces its spot. Things that need to be nerfed are things that are causing polarizing matchups, things that are RNG, or things that are, warping the meta in an unhealthy way. Just because something's strong doesn't mean it should be nerfed. Factions deserve their staples. That's my 2 cents. I'm going to put a little bit more work into it this coming week. clean it up, get it out of just like complete rough draft, shorthand notes, maybe spell check and format it a little bit better, and look for things I've forgotten. Then I'll post it on the forums, and then you guys can all tear it apart there, where I can slowly improve it. Ultimately, it's probably a fruitless effort because I doubt the devs will take it too seriously. But this is really what I want to see Duelist be. I want it to be a healthy, skill-based board game. I want all the factions to be strong and viable. I want there to be little to no RNG. It's just, that's what I want to see. I want to see Duelist be the great game that it has been and that it can be. And, given I doubt, my patch is going to become official and they're going to just take my word as gold and go with it. Just, if I can at least maybe give them some good ideas and nudge them in the right direction, I'm happy to do my part. And if nothing else, it's a nice dream. No, there you guys go again, nerfing things that are good but healthy. Wisp is a cool, powerful faction staple that has plenty of counterplay and is a strong card, but isn't being a problem. It's annoying, yes. You may not like it, yes. But that doesn't make it bad. It's a strong faction staple that helps shape their identity and has counterplay. And that's the example of a good, healthy card. An unhealthy card are cards that cause meta warping, that cause RNG, or polarized effects. Wisp does none of these. Wisp is an example of a faction-defining staple, and that is a good thing. So, that's my 2 bits. I'll post it on the forums soon enough. Let's see, this ended up a much longer stream than intended. I sure didn't expect to, go and read through that whole thing before it was even ready. I was expecting more to play some games, but, let's close the night out with a game. Let's see, was there anything else on my... Oh yeah, let's grab a game with my recent Creepcast list, because, I have a few decent creep lists, but I'm really just trying to make Tormentor work, try to play sort of the all-in creep type deal with Shadow Nova and Tormentor. I want to make it work. I feel like it's almost there. I'm not sure if it's just not quite good enough or if it's just not quite been solved yet. So let's grab a game with that, and then we'll call that a night. So we're up against Ragnar. Luckily, Cass does pretty well here. Her excess of pings gives her a decent chance against eggs, even if they have 2 health. And the deck's excess removal package makes it good against Wanderers, just various stat sticks. Let's see here. It's a bit early for Desolator, although let's see. Yeah, no, it's a bit early for Desolator. Rag isn't usually over-the-top aggro. He's either, plays the tempo game or the burst game. So we shouldn't need that this early. But everything else is looking good. Munch... Well, no, it's a bit early for Munch, too. Until we get some more creep going. I've got one emergency removal. Munch is going to be a little bit before it really kicks in. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so now that we know it's Wanderer, it's a bit early for Obliterate. We do have 2 in the deck, so we can get away with replacing 1 now. Ooze is a great open. So since we're up against Wanderer, digging for our removal is a pretty high priority. I'm not going to replace Munch now that we now that we know what we're up against. We're just looking for egg answers and removal, and that's sort of the game we want to play. Crater. Not the best open for him. Oh, crap. Not the best open for him. Giving me... But Ooze did its silly thing here and overwrote a tile. What a jerk. Alright, so we're going to need all the ping we can get this match. So we're... I don't want to... Spear will replace itself. Just going to hang tight with what we have. Just conserve our resources and wait it out here. This is all stuff we're going to need in this matchup. I could replace the crypto, but it does go a long way at killing eggs. But no, I suppose it can go. Oh, Ooze. That's exactly what we wanted to see. If we have Spear and Bloodborne Spell, plus Wanderer's not out, we can deal without the double ping from the crypto. Sliver, Herald, trying to hunt down my crawler here. Okay, so we want to keep our crawler safe. So we really want to kill this, which we can do. It's a little awkward to do so. So let's go ahead and see what we draw, and then make our decisions based on that. Okay, so we can keep our crawler safe. We can just send the Slither away so we can't get a early Wanderer. Now we can deny his tile. We can kill the Herald, which will preserve our crawler as well. So we've kept him off of Wanderer. Still a bit early for Obliterate, but I don't think I want to replace it at this point. And my cards are starting to run a little bit low here, so I'm just going to hold on to Desolator just for the card advantage. Probably don't need Nethermeld, but we will see. Primus. So hopefully our little Ooze will cooperate with us, but if not, we have plenty of options. Okay, where did that go? Did that go under him? Yes, it did. So it's under him. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and punch that to clear it. Crawler's fine where he's at. We can play another meld just to kill the egg. And we can play a Desolator for a lack of something better to do here. double ping an egg with crypto, or we can likely munch a wanderer away, no problem. And at this point, we're just sort of stalling for the ideal obliterate time. And we can just spam Desolator in the meantime. Oh, that's an Egg-Morph that's at least not being used as a combo, so I'll take it. And we can go ahead and toss him up there into that corner. Don't want to replace the crypto, but I need something else to do this turn. Alright, well, let's go ahead and draw a card first, see where that gets us. Oh, Minter's not bad to see. Let's go ahead and keep our little crawler safe here. Safe as we can. And then let's come over here and clear this before it gets a Wanderer buff. Well, we keep developing our creep. Get a spare ping in hand here. Obliterate's starting to look decent, but we do want to stall because we really want to get use out of our munches and juggernauts. It's likely just going to Wanderer an egg. We might munch the Wanderer, but it depends on where he puts this egg. Because we'd really like to clear the egg and play the Juggernaut. Paragon. Oh, no Wanderer at least. Meaning we can clear the egg, no problem, if he places it. Alright, so let's see here. I think we just... Can I play this Juggernaut? Do I go and clear this? No, we're going to want double ping, so we're just going to go ahead and ditch the fellows over there and start the aggro mode so that hopefully our Obliterate can get to the point that it can kill him. Definitely going to play the Juggernaut, no doubt about that. It's just a question of, do we want to replace the Scar or save it for an egg kill if need be? I think we're ready to Obliterate. Okay, what would we want more than a Scar? With 3 mana, there's really nothing we want more than it at the moment. No, we're just going to hang tight. We're just going to conserve our resources and call that good. He has to deal with this Juggernaut this turn. If he doesn't, he... Oh, I didn't realize Paragon was on a tile. Had I known that, I would have gone ahead and hit that with the tile. But, oh well. Well-placed Lightbender. Definitely hurts a bit. And I should have killed the Paragon, but, well. We can still just keep stalling and pushing slowly. lots of heals, just making sure we can't just nuke him to death. Alright, so we're definitely going to ping that. I'll go ahead and play an ooze just over there. I'll go ahead and clear this, get another creep tile. I'm just holding on to that munch because we don't need it yet. And there will be, Wanderer will be a perfect target for it in the not too distant future here. 3, 4, 5. Alright, so we have a munch to clear Wanderer, and then Minter plus double ping to clear the egg. There's the Wanderer, no surprise there. He'll just try to beat me up, but Munch will turn that around pretty drastically. Alright, where's that town? Oh, went over there. Nice. Okay, so we're munching that for sure. And then we'll clear the bender with Ace? No, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll play the Mentor defensively. We'll use it to clear this egg and get just one more creep tile off of that bender. Punch it. And Obliterate's starting to look pretty scary here. So my health is uncomfortably low as well. Him being able to egg morph my Desolate early on has definitely put a damper on my health and card advantage. So at this point, Juggernaut's probably going to need to be replaced. Because I'm probably going to have to obliterate this turn. Unless I can replace Juggernaut into a... Even if I do replace it into a munch, it's going to be pretty awkward. Let's see how much creep I got. I have 12 creep. So Juggernaut can go. Ooh, fancy. Oh, that's a real shame. Nobody's on creep. Alright, so here's what I think we have to do. We want to make sure we kill whatever that's going to turn into. So it's a shame, but I have to trade my Mentor into it. And I think we got to go for that Obliterate. Not what we want to be doing right now, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Alright, so now the Obliterate. Clean up. Well, let's go ahead and sort of contest that globe and just push the damage, because we're just a Desolator away from winning. Oh. Or if we... Oh man, that would be so cool if we got to Torment and Shadow Nova because he left us that globe. Well, that would be something else. And he probably can't afford to just stay in front of my face right now, so he may just run away and leave me that globe. That would be a pretty epic finish. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to finish him with it though, but we still get to do something pretty dang cool. Alright, so come down. I think we can replace this Abyssal Scar, though. Alright, yep. Hop down here, throw down the Tormentor. Now we get this fancy Shadow Nova. Although that Ripper is a big concern, alright. We are very nearly dead ourselves. Even if we lose this one, it's at least been a pretty fun game. Not that I mean, never fun to face Wanderer, but at least it has been nice and back and forth. He hasn't gotten any insane high rolls. He did have a really, really well-placed Bender, but other than that, his hand's been... I don't know, he also got the Egg-Morph. Yeah, he's drawn pretty well for himself. He's also just got just enough healing the last... You know, Wanderer doing Wanderer things as usual, but it's been an enjoyable game. Just it's been a nice back and forth. Does he have some out-of-hand damage? EMP? Alright, well, first things first, let's draw a card. Not the card we need, but that is. Even if we hadn't found the Desolator, you know, we could have cleared this, sent the EMP away, cleared the egg, and whatever this was wouldn't have ultimately mattered because we've been fine, but we got it anyways. That got us the game. Oh, well, that was a good thing to close the night out on. I'm glad it worked out. You know, it does pretty decently versus Wanderer, unless they get really well-placed dispels. But you know, it's still a work in progress. Alright, well, thanks for coming, everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed themselves. I'll get around to posting my balance patch probably by the end of the week. In the meantime, I'll catch you next time.